What's up, everybody? What's up, FightHype Live? From the, you know what? Actually, I picked the wrong song. This is a Canelo Live. What was I thinking? Hold on. What's up, FightHype Live? El Rey de Boxeo has made his selection. Now, okay, enough's enough. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Good afternoon here on this Saturday, July 1st, first day of July 2023. And we got Canelo versus Jermell Charlo is official. Some people, were off and running with Canelo versus Jermell Charlo. Certainly, what kind of idiots in the media without any real confirmation would just go on and on and on without really unverified report. Who would just go on and on about a fight like Jermell that was never really. Oh yeah, that's right, we did. Oh yeah, that's right, we did literally 7 days ago do that, didn't we? We did literally. Wait, let's listen to this.
Inaccessible to everyone.
Wait, we did kind of do that, didn't we, chat? We did do that, didn't we, chat? America, I wish he understood how bad the optics in the United States of a rich. So last we checked, this idiot said that Canelo was fighting Jermell Charlo a week ago, right? And media types like this idiot, before it was ever even really confirmed, they went crazy and just started talking about Canelo versus Jermell Charlo when apparently it wasn't even actually done. And it'll be Undisputed versus Undisputed. It'll be the 154-pound champion, the Undisputed, an all-time great at 154 pounds, and a knockout artist at 154 pounds in Jermell Charlo. A lot of people might right away take a look at the record on paper. Oh, what do you mean knockout artist, Sean? He's 35-0 with 19 knockouts. That doesn't scream knockout artist. But when all but one title defense of his, that being Austin Trout. Where was that Austin Trout fight at? Yeah, Austin Trout in LA back in 2018. Outside of Austin Trout in 2018, Jermell Charlo has, he had a draw with Castano. He lost to Tony Harrison. But in every fight that he's successfully defended the title or won it back by knockout against Harrison, he has won 8 of his last 9 title fights or title defenses or title winning efforts by knockout. So Jermell Charlo is a knockout artist at 154 pounds. And I'm certainly not a prisoner of the moment. I know the all-time greats in this division at 154, from Felix Trinidad to Floyd Mayweather to Oscar De La Hoya to Gerald McClellan to Thomas Hearns. Sugar Ray Leonard only had that pit stop before the Hearns fight at 54, but Terry Norris had more longevity and title defenses than anybody at 54, and Jermell Charlo stacks up with the best that ever did it at 54, and now he takes on Canelo Alvarez, the undisputed 168-pound champ. Before we get into it, let me say what's up to some people in the chat. We already got over 300 people. Jesus M. Sean, did you know it was Jermell all along? I didn't know at all. I found out at the same time everyone else did. Kind of laughed at myself for not knowing, right? But no, I didn't know it was going to be Jermell. 619 Cali Factor says Jermell is a knockout artist with Derek James. That's a fact. Jermell was a boxer, more of a boxer before he got with Derek James. And actually, I remember covering Jermell Charlo in LA for this fight. Where was it? Demetrius Hopkins. Yeah, I covered this fight, coming up in the game, and he, as you see, it was a close fight. He only won 7 rounds to 5 on all 3 cards. I was there when he fought Vanes Martirosyan, another competitive fight that he 7 rounds to 3, 6 rounds to 4 on the other 2 cards. And then when he got with Derek James, and he was losing this fight. He was losing to John. He was behind by 5 points on all 3 cards. And Jermell didn't look like a guy. He was athletic. You knew he was very big for 154, but he didn't look like an elite fighter. With his size and athleticism, you weren't surprised he got to this belt and beat John Jackson. But then he started to turn a corner around the Erickson-Lubin knockout. When he knocked out Lubin in a round, he followed it up with a very pedestrian performance against Austin Trout, kind of flat, and then he lost to Tony Harrison. But when he knocked out Harrison in that rematch, I think putting up with all of Harrison's garbage, all the trash talk, the delays, I think it made him a better fighter and a better man. And he wound up winning that Harrison fight by knockout. And ever since winning that Harrison rematch by knockout, he's been one of the best fighters in the world. He made Jason Rosario seizure on the ground from a jab to the body knockout, one of the most unique knockouts we've seen in several years. And then Castano probably should have got the decision in that first fight. If anyone deserved the nod, it was Castano. But then Jermell pulled a Andre Ward Kovalev and showed up twice the fighter for the second fight and knocked him out. In my opinion, that was the best performance of 2022. Was what he did against Castano last May. And the reason why I say that was Jermell fought a perfect boxer-puncher performance, and that is personally my favorite style, the boxer-puncher. Sugar Ray Robinson and Joe Louis really kind of brought it into the modern era, and then guys like Sugar Ray Leonard and Oscar De La Hoya and Tommy Hearns and Evander Holyfield continued that. Guys like Pacquiao wasn't a boxer-puncher. Floyd Mayweather was a pure boxer, the greatest defensive fighter of all time alongside Whitaker. So that beautiful boxer-puncher style's been missing a little bit, and Jermell brings it to the sport, and that's something I really like about Jermell. Now, if you're Tim Tszyu, you feel like you got ducked, and if you're David Benavidez, you feel like you got ducked, and they have a right to feel that way. But there's a lot of money on the table for both of these guys. They're both undisputed. They're both in their 30s, and so they're taking a lucrative fight against each other instead of the two young killers in their 20s in their divisions nipping at their heels. They're saying, hey, instead of me fighting this killer Benavidez and you fighting that killer Tim Tszyu, let's make a lot of money and fight each other. The established veterans take on each other. So I know there's a lot of fans that aren't going to be happy. Not even necessarily. I actually think boxing fans are looking forward to the fight. There is excitement about the fight from the hardcores, which are usually the most critical because they think the most critically about the sport. They know what they're looking at the most, so they're going to have the strongest opinions. And I agree. Canelo is ducking Benavidez for the time being, and Charlo kind of ducked Tim Tszyu. But that doesn't mean Canelo versus Charlo isn't a very meaningful fight, isn't an exciting fight. I'm looking forward to this fight because Canelo started at 154 pounds as a champion, and he's 5'8", 70-inch reach. Jermell Charlo is 6 foot, 73-inch reach. He's more light in the ass than Canelo. Canelo, kind of like Tank Davis, is a guy who's shorter than everybody, but thick bones, heavy set guy, wide frame, very strong, very physically strong, great punching power. Jermell, a little more lean, a little bit more of that lean guy. He'll put some muscle on moving up 14 pounds to super middleweight. And he's probably a tougher fight than Jermell Charlo was, because Jermell Charlo, it was gonna be exciting even if Charlo was gonna, get pieced up, because Jermell Charlo has that great power jab, so does Jermell. And Charlo, like when he knocked out J-Rock back in 2016, he likes to keep his feet planted and trust himself in the exchanges. Keep his feet planted, he caught that shot by J-Rock and then rolled and came back with the right uppercut to knock him out. Beautiful knockout. He was going to keep his feet planted. This guy, Jermell Charlo, boxer-puncher, he moves a lot more. And movement, it gives Canelo less issues than it used to, as evidenced by the Billy Joe and the Caleb Plant fights where they were trying to move from round one, and he was able to effectively cut off the ring and stop him. But Jermell, he moves around the ring great, throws bombs, is a knockout artist at 54. Obviously, he's not going to knock out Canelo. He's looking at a 12-round fight. He ain't knocking out Canelo. Canelo's got one of the best chins maybe of all time. And it's a 54-pounder, no matter, even if he is a knockout artist, moving up to 68, he might surprise Canelo, surprise all of us, and get his attention by sitting down on some shots. But he's not knocking out Canelo. But let me say what's up to the chat, man. I kind of trail off and I forget to say what's up to everybody. Ronald Rendez says they both want payday. Well, that is what it's all about. School of Skill says Charlo ran from Castano. No. In the second fight, he fought off the ropes beautifully, picked his spots to exchange with Castano, got the better, won those exchanges over and over again, broke him down, and then knock him out. You can't knock a guy out if you're running away from him. Charlo put on the perfect boxer-puncher performance in that fight. I thought that was the best fight, the best performance. Him and what Bam Rodriguez did to Sorang Visai I thought those were the two best performances last year. So yeah, but, you know, Castaño had a lot of success being that short, aggressive fighter, getting underneath Charlo. Even in the second fight where he was losing the exchanges, he landed a lot of hard shots on Charlo, underneath body shots, short chopping left hooks, the kind of punches in Canelo's arsenal that he can throw much better with much better defense and punching power than Brian Castaño, just more everything. And then Jermell Charlo's coming off a 1.5-year layoff. I told you guys I didn't think he was fighting Tim Tszyu next. This caught everyone for a surprise. I thought he was going to fight Brian Mendoza, get the ring rust off, and then go to the Tim Tszyu fight. Turns out he's fighting the biggest name in the sport. He's fighting Canelo. And I can't knock... I think it's Canelo who deserves more criticism because Canelo's not only ducking the tougher challenge in his division, the challenge that's been in his division for years in David Benavidez, but he's as big a fight as Canelo and Charlo is, and it's a big fight. It's it's undisputed versus undisputed, but Canelo versus Benavidez is an even bigger fight. So Canelo can't even really use the full argument of I'm fighting a easier fight for more money. No, you're fighting an easier fight for less money, even though it's going to be a shitload of money. And it is a fight I'm very much looking forward to. But for Charlo, I think he gets more of a pass of, hey, he's jumping up 2 weight classes to fight the best fighter of his era. So Canelo, even though he's beginning to decline a little bit, he's still better than Tim Tszyu. So Charlo's moving up 2 weight divisions to fight an even tougher challenge in Tim Tszyu. We know he's taking that challenge because it's a huge reward financially and everything else. But it's really Canelo who deserves a little more criticism. Charlo deserves criticism too because he had an injury. I don't want to say allegedly, but he had an injury and he stalls Tszyu out. He's supposed to fight Tszyu in January. Then he gets a deadline until September 30th. And who knows what happens with that deadline. So, Charlo got out of the Tim Tszyu fight, but can you blame him? I mean, can you blame him for passing up Tim Tszyu to fight Canelo? For Canelo, it's more, you are the super middleweight champion, and everyone for over a year has known who your number one challenge is. It's David Benavidez, and you and David Benavidez could sell out Allegiant Stadium. You could sell out where the Raiders play at if you guys fight. So Canelo gets more criticism than Charlo. They could both get criticism, but it's an excellent fight. It is prize fighting. Look, I'm of the nature of I like to treat this like a sport more than a business because I'm not a businessman. That's not my prerogative in this sport. It's to cover the sports side. But I understand. It goes without saying it's a business. And these two, this is a big business fight. It looks good on a poster. Canelo Charlo. You put all 4 belts on both sides, undisputed versus undisputed. I'd have to fact check, but I saw some people on Twitter, Steven Espinoza included, saying this is the first undisputed versus undisputed fight since Jose Napoli's against Carlos Monzon in 1974. That kind of stuff sells well to people. And for Charlo, another reason I can't criticize Charlo, he hit a wall at 54. He became undisputed, and he hit a wall at 54. There wasn't that much more to accomplish. And he hit a wall in terms of his fights weren't going on pay-per-view. He was getting allocated a nice budget, a nice fat check to fight on regular Showtime, which showed the kind of respect Showtime had for him because Showtime this year is more in the business of making pay-per-views. They're not trying to hand out big guarantees for their network fights. If it's going to start turning into big money being thrown around, they'd rather you be on pay-per-view, so they share the financial burden with the fans buying the pay-per-view. They're not on the hook for the guarantee, all on their own. So he was being handsomely compensated, probably more than anyone fighting on regular Showtime. Jermell Charlo was probably the highest paid fighter not on pay-per-view, fighting on PBC. But he hit a wall at 54, and even though the Tim Tszyu fight is a big fight, bigger than ever, especially in Australia, that wasn't going to be a Showtime pay-per-view, I believe. That was still going to be a World Championship boxing. So this guy had hit a wall. And at 33 years old, having already grabbed all 4 belts, you want to fight on pay-per-view, especially when all the big names are fighting on pay-per-view this year. So for Jermell, you can't blame him for jumping up 2 divisions to face, you know, the man. I know Canelo lost to Bivol, but he's still the man, you know. For Canelo, it's a little more to criticize because you're ducking Benavidez. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to this fight. But I don't want to come off as an ass kisser for the fight and not acknowledge that these two have bypassed the long-deserving #1 contenders in their divisions. You know, it goes without saying. But it's a hell of a fight. And it's not your typical smaller guy moving up 14 pounds fight. This is a guy that has always physically been bigger than Canelo when he stood next to him. And on paper, he's 3 or 4 inches taller and has a 3-inch reach advantage. Jermell, people have said for the longest time he could move up. And there's nothing for Jermell at 160. It's a wasteland at 160 right now. He's already done, you know, the ultimate goal at 54. So he breaks through and finally gets on pay-per-view with this fight. Let's see what he does. I don't count him out. I do think this fight kind of appeases everybody. Canelo, in a first fight out of 3, probably wants to feel like, okay, BBC, you know, treat me right, do me right. Give me a fight where I'm supposed to win. Give me a fight where I have the, you know, where on paper I'm supposed to win before you just try to feed me to David Benavidez or something like that. Well, you got it. You got a natural 14-pound advantage. This guy's never fought at 68. This guy hasn't fought in a year and a half. You fought twice since then. How's that work, you know? And then for Jermell Charlo, he gets to break through that ceiling. He gets to break through that wall. Gets to fight on pay-per-view for the first time since the bubble when he fought Jason Rosario. But that was a small pay-per-view. This is the real deal. And then, you know, so Canelo and Team Reynoso, the Team Canelo, they get what they want. They get the fight that they're supposed to win on paper. Charlo gets what he wants. I wouldn't be surprised because there's, you know, there's conflicting reports that the fight was going to go to Jermell Charlo, but he kind of had to turn it down. And I can envision Jermell Charlo stepping up and saying, fuck that. I'll take the fight. I'll fight him. I'll fight him then. I'll fight his ass. And so you know, Jermell's happy. The Charlo family's happy because one of the Charlo brothers is getting that shot. And then Al Heyman's happy because, you know, here he is doing business with Canelo again, making big fights. You know, just hopefully the fans are happy once we get to fight night. And Charlo's not too light in the ass. That's going to be the biggest question for Charlo. Charlo gets hit. You know, Charlo gets hit. He got pieced up by Tony Harrison. He got hit in the Jason Rosario fight before. Charlo gets hit in just about every fight. So how is this 154-pounder, who is big and explosive, but is more of a lean frame than someone like Canelo? He's more of a lean kind of guy. Will he be light in the ass? That's a question we have for Terrence Crawford against Errol Spence. Will he be a little light in the ass against this naturally stronger man, more natural at the weight? So we'll have to see, because Charlo, he's athletic and he knows how to move his upper body and he's great with his feet, but he gets hit. And so we'll see. That's going to probably be a big thing for Charlo. If Charlo can hold up to the power of Canelo and take it well and you know, return fire, then we'll have a fun fight. We'll have a fun fight over 12 rounds. You got to favor Canelo. You got to favor Canelo to win. But Charlo, with his length and athleticism, less mileage and wear and tear, he has half the amount of pro fights Canelo has. So while the bad to that is you haven't fought nearly the level of oppositions Canelo has. He's seen, you know, and Charlo's fought good opposition at 154, but just not quite the opposition Canelo has from 154 to 175. But all that experience is good for Canelo, but not necessarily the mileage on the odometer that's been showing up. The wear and tear from all those fights and camps, that's been showing up ever since 2021 came to a close and he became undisputed. His last 3 fights, from Bivol to the third Golovkin fight to John Ryder, he slowed down a little bit. And, you know, that happens. Sometimes these fighters, as they get into their 30s, like Roberto Duran, they experience a lull. They have a couple of shoddy performances, and then they become vintage again. And maybe Canelo, you know, begins to look vintage again in this fight. So we'll see. Joe Hewitt said, "You are downplaying Charlo. The fuck?" No, I'm not. If any, you know, some people would say I'm overhyping Charlo. I think Charlo's one of the all-time greats at 154. I think the only guy who can match the longevity he's had is Terry Norris, also from Texas. He's a bona fide knockout artist at 154. 8 of his 9 title defense wins have been by knockout since he got with Derek James. He's the boxer puncher. That's my favorite style. That's kind of a little bit of a lost art, being the boxer puncher. But he's facing Canelo, who's got a better defense than him, who punches harder than him. And they're both fast. They both have good hand speed. Charlo has that length, has better feet than Canelo, but Canelo's gotten better at dealing with foot movement. Canelo's the favorite in my eye, and he's going to be the favorite by Las Vegas odds. Let's see if they even got the Vegas odds up. And I got a super chat I got to get to too, but let's see Canelo Charlo odds. Let's see what we got so far. Let's see. Do we got some odds early on? Okay, early odds. That's about right. Canelo minus 240. Jermall. Oh, well, this is still Jermall. This is still when they thought it was Jermall. No. See, they got it all fucked up. This is Jermell. Okay, I'm going to assume this is Jermell, even though they put Jermall. So about 2.5 to 1 there. But I got a super chat I got to get to real quick. Let me see here. Jay Kurt 20 says Devin versus Tio at 140. Who do you got and why? Jay Kurt, thank you for the super chat. I give the edge to Devin Haney. The length, the jab. Teofimo's better at aggressive fighters coming to him, like Taylor and Lomachenko. That's why I picked him to win those fights. When guys are in and out on him, like Kambosos did in that first round, Kambosos in and out, and then sniped the right hand, landed it. Sandor Martin, in and out, moving away, waiting to counterpunch the counterpuncher in Tio, making the counterpuncher and Teofimo Lopez fight out of his comfort zone, which is fight on the front foot and have to be aggressive and have to go first and create. Tio's much better being a athletic, creative, dynamic counterpuncher where you're trying to bring the fight to him. Devin, like Sandor Martin did to him, but Devin's much better than Sandor Martin. He's going to force Tio to do what he doesn't do best, and that's cut off the ring, try to force the exchanges. Tio likes to fight with his hands lower and have the guy come to him and find the openings and punch in between his punches. He's not like a Lomachenko who's going to put the hands up, cut distance. That's not his natural style. So I got to give the edge to Devin Haney. But if Tio can make some adjustments, learn to cut that ring off better, pick his hands up when he's on the front foot, not keep the same stance going forward as when he goes backward. Even Floyd Mayweather with the best shoulder roll ever, when he would cut distance against Zab Judah or Conor McGregor, he'd pick his hands up. So I would give the edge to Devin. But if Tio could force some exchanges and make it more of a fight and less of a boxing match, maybe he could win that fight after all. But I'd give the edge to Haney. Got another couple super chats to get to. My man, the one ALV. What's up, the one ALV? Good to see you, brother. The one ALV says, what's up, Sean? I personally like this fight better than Canelo versus Spence. Well, yeah, Charlo's bigger than Spence and more athletic than Spence, too. If someone was going to move up, it's much better for it to be Charlo. This is the better Charlo out of the two. I was looking forward to Jermall because that's a fight I wanted to see for a long time at 160. And Jermall, when he's on, is big, can punch, has an excellent thudding jab, gets hit. They both get hit, but Jermell Charlo's probably the tougher fight than Jermall because of his feet. But maybe not, though. Maybe not, because Jermall's a little stronger than Jermell. Just a little bit bigger, and was gonna fight Canelo differently than I think Jermell will fight him. Jermell, I think, will look to fight intelligent and be the boxer puncher. He'll look to frustrate Canelo at times, but not stink the place out. He's not gonna try and just be a pure boxer and pop shot Canelo and take all the exchanges and all the fun out of the fight and just move off. And no, Charlo's a boxer puncher. He's gonna pick his spots, but I think his feet being better than Jermall, this moment really is kind of cementing that Jermell's the one and not Jermall, unfortunately. The book's not closed. Jermall still has never taken a loss in the pros, but Jermell in this moment, Jermell for the last half decade, Jermall was supposed to be the star. Jermall was the one with that thudding power jab, that amazing size at 154 and 160. Jermall was supposed to be the one out of the two of them. It was supposed to be the other way around. Jermell was supposed to grab a belt or two here and there at 154, 160, and Jermall was supposed to become this undisputed star. And so over the last half decade, Jermell began to eclipse his older brother, and now this moment is solidifying it. And I don't say that out of shade to Jermall or anything, but it's just an observation that Jermell, especially if he wins or even if he's just competitive, he has cemented himself as he's the Charlo brother. So we'll see. I have another super chat from my man Rodney. Rodney says Charlo will knock him out. Rodney, I gotta love your enthusiasm for the guy. It looks like you're supporting Jermell Charlo, and he's a knockout artist at 154 pounds, 8 knockouts and 9 wins, but in 9 title fight wins. But Canelo has one of the best chins ever. He's as good of a puncher as he is at 54. He didn't one punch knock out Harrison and Castano. Those were accumulation. It took a lot of shots. And Canelo has not just one of the best chins in today's era. I think Canelo has an all-time chin. I think anytime you got a guy who's had over 20 title fights and approaching 70 fights overall, and we've never seen him touch the canvas, the worst we've seen him hurt was as a boy, as a 20-year-old, 19-year-old boy against Jose Cotto, then I think we got to start talking about Canelo having one of the all-time chins. I feel very safe in saying, Rodney, Jermell Charlo is not knocking out Canelo Alvarez. He's getting ready for 12. He's going 12. If anyone's getting knocked out, it's Jermell. But I don't think Jermell's getting knocked out because Canelo's just reminding me of Pacquiao post-Cotto when Clottey went the distance, Mosley went the distance, Algieri went the distance. I mean, he dropped Algieri 47 times, but he went the distance. Brandon Rios went the distance. Tim Bradley went the distance. Marquez went the distance and then knocked him out. But the days of the stoppages were done for Manny once he hit the same age Canelo's at now. And the John Ryder fight reminded me of like Pacquiao Algieri. You're dropping him, you're hurting him every round, but you can't get him out of there. So I don't think Canelo knocks out Jermell either, but if anyone's getting knocked out, it's going to be Canelo stopping Jermell, because Jermell being a little light in the ass, a little lean, coming up from 54, facing a big puncher to the body and to the head like Canelo, who has knocked out light heavyweights. I mean, Kovalev was washed, but he knocked him out, knocked out a light heavyweight. That is a fact. If anyone's getting knocked out, it's Charlo. But I don't see a knockout happening. I think we're going 12 rounds in this fight, and I think it's a competitive fight. I think Charlo, with his feet and his athleticism, his skills, his heart, his conditioning, I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park for Canelo, but he's the favorite. I do expect him to win, so we'll see. Got a couple super chats to get to. Sorry, I meant Canelo will knock him out. Okay, Rodney, I just wasted all my breath. I'm sorry, Rodney. Then Rodney says Canelo will knock Charlo out. I don't think Canelo's going to knock him out, but he might. If Canelo is the 2020 against Callum Smith, 2021 against the Saunders and Plant, then he might knock Charlo out. But if it's the Canelo we've seen his last 3 fights, I don't think he's knocking Charlo out. I think it's a competitive fight. And I think he's going to win, but I think it's a competitive fight. I got a super chat from my man Raphael32. Always great to see you in the chat, Raphael32. Thanks for checking in. Raphael32 said, this is better than the Jermall fight. This is all Reynoso's cherry picking. True. When it gets tight, he runs just like he ran from GGG and fought Kovalev. I don't know if that's fair to say about Canelo. It got tight when everyone was saying he wouldn't fight Erislandy Lara, and he did. It got tight when everybody said, look, he popped positive for that first fight. He got a gift in that first fight. He popped positive. He was dirty against Golovkin. He's going to get his ass whooped in the second fight. He's off the juice, and he really lost that first fight. What did Canelo do? He showed up and hardly took a step backwards, and he backed up the bigger man, the knockout artist, Triple G. He backed him up, took the fight to him, and won. So I think what I think Canelo and Team Reynoso are doing is, let's take these easier fights for basically the same money. Benavidez would do more pay-per-view buys and thus more money for Canelo, but we're talking making 40, 45 million versus 65, 70 million. $45 million ain't bad. And I think what Canelo and Reynoso are doing is, let's get a couple of these other checks that we feel are more, guaranteed that we win. And in the meantime, let Benavidez fight Morrell, and he might fucking lose, and this boogeyman talk is over with. Or at the very least, Morrell can give us more things to look at, more weaknesses to exploit and to expand on the tape, that we could take advantage of once we do have to face him. And this guy is this guy sucks down to 168. He says he has an easy time making it, but we all know David kind of is like a light heavyweight getting down to 168. So you continue to make him suck down to 68. Maybe he gets beat by Morrell, and in the meantime, you face these fighters you feel you could beat. And that's very calculating by Canelo. We want the Benavidez fight as fans, but I do feel like at the end of this 3-fight deal, as long as Benavidez can get past Morrell, if that fight even really is next, he might get Andrade or someone else. He's not going to probably get Munguia. But I do feel like if David can hold firm, hold court, keep winning, he'll get Canelo at the end of this 3-fight deal, although there's a scenario he doesn't. There's a scenario that Errol Spence pulls off the slight upset against Terrence Crawford, and Canelo winds up fighting Jermell Charlo, and then Errol Spence. And David's left high and dry, at which point Canelo, his bank account would be fat. He might go 3-0 in those fights. And a lot of us fans who love the sport would be left critical and mad at him for never facing, David Benavidez. But it is what it is. Well, we have to let these things play out and see how it shakes out. I do believe they will wind up fighting Canelo and Benavidez. I feel like that fight will happen next year, but I've been wrong before. Hell, I did a whole 2-hour-long talk about Jermell and Canelo, and they're not even fighting. So, the one ALV said, I meant if Spence was going to move up, I'd much rather it be Charlo, since Spence is at welterweight and Charlo is at 154, and I think it's the better fight, says the one ALV. Yeah, I hear you. The one ALV, again, being in the spirit of the sport and not the business, it's funny. The business side of boxing is patting itself on the back so much right now, and with good reason. These are very good fights that are making a lot of money and are good for boxing. It's been a good year in 2023. But before we go crazy with that, because the one ALV is talking about the spirit of the sport. Look, if Spence is going to move up, forget a cash grab against Canelo. I want to see him, the 147-pound champ, against the 154-pound champ. And along your lines, the one ALV, the real some of the real hardcores of the sport. I don't want to speak for everybody. They're sport. Hey, you've had this mandatory for over a year with Tim Tszyu. You're the 154-pound champion at some point should defend his titles against the number one contender at 154. The 168-pound champion at some point should have to defend his titles against the number one contender in his division, David Benavidez. What are we doing here? But then the business says, forget what the sport's talking about, and we're going to put these two names in there and make a prize fight. And that's where the business side of prize fighting comes into play. Two names, established names, will fight each other and bypass what the sport would logically dictate, right? And as we're having so much fun doling out props to the year that boxing's having, you could still keep a level head about each and every fight. Ryan and Tank smashed at the box office all expectations, but it was a non-title fight. It was Tank not fighting Haney or Stevenson, but fighting a glorified prospect with fast hands and a dangerous left hook. Benavidez Plant, for as great a fight as it was a fight that probably should have been a unification fight at some point, and like Tank and Ryan, was a non-title fight. Crawford Spence, great fight. The fighters are going to make more money than ever. It's for Undisputed, and it wouldn't have been if they had fought when they were younger and we were demanding it as early as 2017, 2018, right? But before we kiss ass and get on our knees and kiss the boots of everybody, would we do that in other sports? Would we go, oh my God, NFL, thank you so much, Chiefs and Eagles, after 6 years of the Chiefs playing against all AFC teams and the NFC And Jalen Hurts playing against all NFC teams for 6 years. After 6 years, we get the Super Bowl. We get Chiefs and Eagles. Let's give a hand to the Chiefs for agreeing to do this. Let's give a hand to the Eagles. Let's bow down and thank CBS and Fox for making this happen. Oh my God, that's what the fuck you're supposed to do. It is but anyways, we don't fund the fights. We don't turn the lights on. We don't arrange for deals with the MGM resorts to happen. So the people who put their money where their mouth is and risk financially putting on these fights, they have the say ultimately in when they're going to happen. And I understand that. I'm an adult. But just to the one ALV's point, that's kind of how I expand on, you would rather see Spence, if he's going to move up, fight Charlo than instead of fight Canelo. But the business side dictates it's much more lucrative to move up and fight Canelo if you're Spence and you share a trainer and all, so, but just to expand on that a little bit. I have another super chat to get to from Rodney again. Rodney, thank you so much, man. Thanks for sticking around too, Rodney. I know I was being a little long-winded. It took a minute to get to this super chat. But Rodney says, for all you guys saying he's ducking Benavidez is dumb to say, you really think they'll let him sign a 3-fight deal for that much money and not have Benavidez as part of the 3? Rodney, there is a scenario at play here where, yeah, I think, Rodney, I do think he's going to fight Benavidez, and I'm an adult. I'm a big boy. I understand. If I was Team Canelo, I'd be doing probably the same thing he's doing right now. Fuck what Sean's talking about. Fuck what all these people who don't have to get in there and take the punches are talking about. Benavidez. Fuck you. It's my career. I'm going to do what's intelligent. I take these punches in the face. I could get brain damage in my next fight, and you motherfuckers will, so I get it. But I do got to call a spade a spade. We all know the fight at 68 is Benavidez, and you're not fighting him next. So for the time being, it's a duck. God bless you. I'm looking forward to the Charlo fight, but you are ducking Benavidez for the time being. That's your right. And Rodney, there is a scenario, man. If Spence beats Crawford, there's a scenario where Benavidez never does get the Canelo fight. He could go Jermell, and if Spence beats Crawford, Spence, and the 3 fights are done. And so there is a chance that happens. Now, I'm definitely far from 100% sure of this, but I do think Crawford will win that fight against Spence, and I do think Benavidez could get past Morrell, even though Morrell's a super dangerous, difficult fight, but he's only had 9 professional fights. I would like to think David, with his experience and talent, will navigate the problems that Morrell would present and get past them. So Rodney, I think Canelo Benavidez will happen at some point, but it is so far from a sure thing, and for all we know, Canelo, PBC, they prefer Spence and Canelo at some point instead of Benavidez and Canelo at some point. So we'll see. I think I had another super chat I may have missed here. Hold on. No. I think I got to all of them. Or even Jermell versus Spence. BT saying Jermell versus Spence, undisputed 2 times. That'd be amazing. I mean, I would have loved Jermell and Spence at some point, but I try to be realistic about what's Derek James gonna do? Give the water in the corner for 25 seconds to Jermell and then run across the ring and then give 25 seconds of water to Errol Spence and give them instructions on how to beat each other? Actually, though, Jermell Charlo could just train under Joanne Guzman for Errol Spence fight. He gave Joanne a lot. BT, you remember BT? He was giving a lot of praise to Joanne Guzman, and that sliding and punching off the ropes in combination against Brian Castano, that didn't look like a Derek James fighter to me. That looked like a Joanne Guzman, little Joanne Guzman sauce. And Jermell gave a lot of praise to Joanne Guzman for that Castano rematch, basically just as much praise as he gave Derek James. And there was a tension there heading into that fight between those two, Derek James and Jermell. So maybe he could say, "Hey, peace out, Derek. It's been great. It's been real. I want to fight Spence." But I think I don't know. I think Jermell's days at 154 might be over with. I don't know if we'll ever see that Tim Tszyu fight. We might. There's money on the table, but and it's just I'm reminded of Roy Jones. Now, this ain't light heavyweight to heavyweight, Mackie Shillstone with the good stuff, but where he put on 20 plus pounds of muscle. This is 14 pounds. But I don't know if Jermell is going to be a 154 pounder again. We may have seen Jermell's last fight at 154. Some people that really know boxing, like BT, were telling me that he thinks he could get back down, but I don't know about that. We may have seen Charlo's last fight at 54 already. Christian Salvador said, tell me you like Undisputed versus Undisputed. I do like Undisputed versus Undisputed. I do, and I like that it's not... I wouldn't like this fight as much if it was a little guy really moving up to face a big guy. It's not the case here. Canelo himself was a 54. Both guys' baseline, where they began at, is the 47-54 range. And then Canelo just, with some great, with some great nutrition, moved up and actually didn't lose power moving up. Bigger guys didn't take his shots worse. He actually punched harder moving up. Kind of like Manny Pacquiao. Nutrition, and nutrition's a beautiful thing in the modern era. Ask Roy Jones, ask Evander Holyfield, ask Canelo Alvarez, ask Manny Pacquiao. Nutrition just seems to work wonders in today's boxing. And what I like about it, Christian Salvador, and shout out to you, Christian. Thank you for being in the super chat as always, brother, is it's not a little guy really moving up to face a bigger guy. It's a guy who's taller, who has the longer reach, who's always had a frame, who's been at the 54 weight class so long, and people have asked Jermell about moving up to 60 for years. So I like that, even though it's a guy jumping up 14 pounds, he's really not that much smaller. I don't really think size will play a factor in this fight, in that I think Jermell will struggle a little bit to take the punches from Alvarez at 68 the way he has 54 pounders, where he's Iron Man and he's super strong. Canelo's going to buzz him and hurt him and maybe drop him. But I like the fight. And I do like that it's not really this little guy moving up to face a much bigger guy. I think if Canelo beats Charlo, it's because he's better than him, not because he's bigger than him. So we'll see. I have another super chat to get to. One moment. My bad, chat. Hold on here. Oh, no, I may have got to it. I think I got to. Oh, no. Okay, so Christian Salvador, your other super chat. Good thing I didn't miss it. Christian Salvador said, Tim Tszyu shouldn't be mad at Charlo. Everybody and anybody would have done the same thing. They would have. They would. You are correct, Christian Salvador. Here's the one thing, though. Here's the one reason why Tszyu, in particular, does have a right to be mad. We had a date that you pulled out of. And then you had from January to March and April and to reschedule, and you didn't. So your hand was too hurt to fight me, but it's not too hurt to fight Canelo. That's the one thing. If Tszyu never had a date locked in that he actually trained for, that he was a week or two away from, I interviewed him in Vegas 10 days before he was supposed to fight for the Undisputed title, and it was a blessing in disguise for Tim, because he was going to lose that fight. After getting the seasoning against Harrison, and blowing out Ocampo in a round wasn't seasoning, but the Harrison seasoning and getting active and continuing to fight better opponents, I think Tszyu's chances went up, and it became a much more competitive fight with Charlo than it would have been if they had fought as originally. But Tszyu has a right to be upset because, motherfucker, we were supposed to fight. The contract was signed. You did agree. You did put your name on a dotted line to fight me. And in fact, you never did, or didn't, never, not never, but as of today, never did. So Tim, he's got a right to feel a little ducked, a little mad, even though all of us on the outside looking in know, hey, come on, Tim, you do the same exact shit if you were Jermell. But Tim's not Jermell, and Tim's not us. Tim's got Tim's prerogative. Tim's got Tim's perspective, and from Tim's perspective, this fucking sucks. But thank you, Christian Salvador. Thank you, brother, for the super chat. Let me see here. Another. Oh, that was a super chat from my man. I got to it. That was the last one. Let me see here. Make sure I didn't miss nobody. Let me say what's up to some regulars in the chat too. I think Fire in My Bones is here. What's up, Fire in My Bones? Raphael32. Raphael32 says, I missed the $2 super chat. My bad, Raphael. Let me find it. Here it is. Thank you, Raphael, for the heads up. Raphael says, Canelo wins the fight. Mel has a 40% chance. That's a very high percentage. That's very high. That's about what the odds have it. At Canelo minus 240, Charlo plus 180. That's about it. Yeah, 60-40 type fight. I think it's more 70-30. 65-35, 70-30. Maybe just like I did in the Bivol fight. I usually pick fights right. I picked Canelo Bivol wrong. Began to give Canelo that aura of invincibility, and maybe, coming off 3 pretty whatever performances, I'm still giving him too much credit. But no, I think it's more 70-30 in Canelo's favor against Charlo. We'll see. Fire in My Bones says, Timmy's got other options. He'll be all right. Yeah, but man, but that was the one. That was Undisputed against the American Star, against the all-time great 154. It was signed, sealed, but not delivered. And ain't nothing sexy at 154 besides Jermell Charlo. Fundora lost. That was probably the best fight you could make on Showtime. Would have been a Fundora fight. Mendoza, okay, solid fight, but nothing crazy. Maybe they sell 2,000-3,000 tickets at the StubHub if they make that fight. So, no, he doesn't. I love you, Fire in My Bones, but he doesn't really have other options. Not really, unless one of the welterweights will move up and fight him. But he just all the chance at Undisputed and it just walked out the door. So, hey. How about Tim Tszyu versus Jesus Ramos? I think that fight's a little early for Jesus Ramos. I think that fight's a little early for Jesus Ramos. But Ramos isn't going anywhere. He's a problem. Ramos, even as young as he is, would still be a tough fight for Tim Tszyu. I'm not saying it's not a competitive fight, but why do you make that fight just now if you're Jesus Ramos? Mendoza. I like the Mendoza fight, Fire in My Bones. It's a good fight. I like that fight. That's probably the next fight. If you're Tim Tszyu, you're pressuring the WBC for St. Man, strip him, because the WBO already said if Charlo doesn't make his ruling by September 30th, he's getting stripped. So it looks like Tim will get his hands. It's funny because their ruling is September 30th, the date that Canelo and Charlo fight. So it looks like Charlo will get to they'll get to live up to the Undisputed versus Undisputed billing by the skin of their teeth. Charlo may literally get stripped the next day. And if you're Mendoza and Tszyu, you got to talk to the WBC and say strip him of that belt too. Mendoza's the interim champion. So there is a scenario where Tim Tszyu could be fighting Brian Mendoza on Showtime for the vacant WBC, WBO titles, which is a good fight. But yeah. So let's see here. I got a super chat to get to. And it's from Christian Salvador again. My man Christian Salvador is balling. Christian Salvador said, it sucks for Tim. I actually like how he fights, and he's a great guy. He is a great guy when I talk to him. Down to earth, despite being a kid of a famous father in Australia. Down to earth, not cuddly, not super sweet and nice and tender, but a cool guy. Down to earth. Got that machismo to him. He's a tough guy, a real one. And he's here to fight. And Tim Tszyu didn't play in the kiddie pool in Australia. He came here knocking on the door for the Lion, for the king of the division, was ready to fight him, and I like that about Tim Tszyu. So I feel for him a little bit because I was really looking forward to him and Charlo. That was going to be a hell of a fight. I understand where Charlo's coming from. It's very easy to grasp it. But yeah, I feel you, Christian Salvador. I feel you, man. It sucks for Timmy. But he'll be all right. Dane Sampson, what's up, Dane? Hold on, I got a few of my other folks. Gustavo, what's up, Gustavo Fontalba? Good to see you, brother. Curveballs, good to see Curveballs in the chat. Arise 12 Tribe 70-30. You're talking crazy, bruh. Yeah, I'm just saying how I think. Dane Sampson says, do you think Canelo can drop Charlo? I do think he can drop Charlo. I do. I'm not sure that he will. But I think if anybody goes down in this fight, it's Charlo. And Charlo's made of iron. He's Iron Man at 54. He's got a great chin at 54. But that lean frame might be a little light in the ass at 68. And Canelo's throwing bombs. And, you know, Canelo could still crack to the body and to the head. So if anyone's going down, I would think Canelo's going to drop Charlo. But I think it's going to be a competitive fight over 12 rounds. It's going to be a good fight. Someone said, Freddy Villegas, what's up, Freddy? Freddy and J7, what's up, J7? Freddy Villegas said, yeah, great value, Drake Bell. Throw a combo for the live. All right, I'll see what I could do. Hold on. Maybe shoe shine for him. All right, little combo there for Freddy Villegas. I should have charged you for the super chat for that, Freddy. No, I'm just kidding. No, ain't nobody paying for that bullshit. But James Compton says, "Let's get it in your dreams." I'm. What's the it? I'm a little lost there. Let me see. Hey, thank you, Curveballs. Curveball saying big up to the channels. Well done. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Krishna Wainwright. Good to see you, Krishna. Krishna Wainwright saying Jermell will do better than what Jermall would have done against Canelo. Seems like he has more desire to fight than his brother. Jermall is too inactive. Appreciate you, Sean. Very, very, very good observations, Krishna. Can't disagree with anything you said there. I don't like to dogpile on Jermall when he seems to be going through it. You know, I'm actually I was a big fan of Jermall. I had very, very high hopes for him. I thought he was going to become a Hall of Fame middleweight. I thought he had the size, the jab, the power, the counter punching and skills to really, really be a great fighter in this sport. And you know, the ship hasn't sailed, but man, it looks like it's been leaving the docks for a few years. Outside of Derevianchenko, he knocked out a no-hoper in Centeno beautifully in 2 rounds back in 2018. But outside of the Derevianchenko fight, where, you know, faced with a tougher opponent, he rose to the occasion and fought extremely well. Since the J-Rock fight, Jermall hasn't really been that guy. And, you know, so you could argue Jermall's underachieved. And I wish the opposite for him. I want to see him achieve his potential because I think his potential is vast. But no, I gotta agree with you, Krishna. Gotta agree with you. Freddy Villegas said, when you were playing the new boxing game on live, that was sick. Yeah, I'm gonna play it again, man. I'm gonna play it again. We'll get it. JB Cinema said, yo, I'm a little late to the game with the news, so what weight will the fight be at? It's being reported by Dan Raphael. Shout out Dan the man. That no catch weight, full on 168 pounds. Let's go. Gustavo Fontalba said Sean versus Marcos Villegas. If they paid me and Marcos what we're worth, I'm sure Marcos would be down to make a lot of money. Nothing personal. It's just if they gave me and Villegas a lot of fucking money, I say we gotta do it, right? Who wants to turn down money? Let's give the people what they want. So show us the money like Jerry Maguire, and I'm sure we'll get it. We'll get down, but otherwise, no. Someone said Jermell Charlo is already a Hall of Famer. No, he's not. But Jermell probably is. You can't leave Jermell Charlo out of the. You can't tell the story in the history of boxing when he laces his gloves up. You can't tell the story of the 154-pound division without talking about Jermell Charlo, and that says to me Hall of Famer. People now, you know, critics would say, come on, man, he beat Jason Rosario, Brian Castano. These guys, you know, these aren't proven great fighters or elite pound for pounders. Yeah, but the accumulation, winning 8 of your 9 title defenses by knockout, having the most title defenses in the division since Terry Norris, you know, getting all 4 belts, and the longevity from 2016 to 2022, you know, reigning as the number 1 fighter in the division. I think he probably gets in. Let me see. Did I miss one here? Hold up. Yeah, super chats for combos and impersonations from now on. Exactly. Yeah, just Fire in My Bones said, damn, Sean. Okay, I'm happy I didn't embarrass myself with the little combo. Who do I think has the better chin overall, Triple G or Canelo? Good question. I think Canelo. I've seen... Now, to be fair to Triple G, when he gets hurt, half the time it's been to the body. But I feel like off top, I've seen Triple G stunned more than Canelo. Just off top. I mean, Floyd hurt Canelo with an uppercut back in the day, 10 years ago. Triple G got his attention with an uppercut as well in the second fight. And then Jose Cotto. But Triple G got hurt against Derevianchenko multiple times. Usually it was to the body. He got buzzed against Canelo a couple times in the second fight. And also, Triple G, in the second and third fight, just wasn't willing to stay in the kitchen as much with Canelo. And that kind of tells you something about their chins. Canelo trusted his chin more than Triple G did in the exchanges. Because Canelo didn't take a step back in fights 2 and 3. And Triple G would be the guy to back out of range, back out of range, back out of range. And so that kind of tells you something. Whoops. Shut up, Vicente Fernandez. You had your shine in the beginning of the stream. By today's standards, everybody's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, the bar has lowered, you know. So, and then every fighter's just gonna cite Arturo Gatti. They're just gonna that's just they're gonna be like, you let Arturo Gatti in, so I have to get in. But yeah, Diego Corrales should be in the Hall of Fame. Gio Cabrera, do you know him yet? You will check. Josh, you were asking me this last time too, and I think Gio's getting the fight against Pitbull next, I believe, right? So you know what, Josh? Thank you for the super chat, Josh Cabrera. Let me see. We gotta have some Gio Cabrera on the channel. Hold up. Let me do this real quick. I've been meaning to watch some. I've been meaning to watch some Gio Cabrera for you, Josh. I'm sorry. Damn, we got something. Well, there he is there on FightHype talking, but do we got any training footage? I know, we got training of everybody on FightHype, so it's somewhere, but you got to look for it. Ugh. If copyright wasn't a thing, chat, I would take a look at Giovanni Cabrera right now, and we could tape study with him. Let's take a look at his. Let's take a look at Gio for a second here, heading into the Isak fight. 21-0, 7, got the height, got the reach on Isak Cruz. On paper, Josh, looks a little tough for Gio to keep Cruz off of him. Obviously, he's not going to stop Cruz, who has a granite chin, tucks his chin extremely well in that armadillo-type defense. And with 7 KOs, if Tank Davis wasn't able to stop him over 12 rounds, I doubt Giovanni will be able to. On paper, it would appear, this man's going to have to box well and be the more skilled fighter on the outside against Isak Cruz. He's got the physical dimensions to do it at 5'9". He's a big lightweight. 5'9", 71-inch reach. Cruz at 5'4", 63-inch reach, but he's so explosive and he's fast. People don't talk about his speed. He's fast on the inside, is Cruz. Gabe Flores is fast too, and he pieced him up. But Gabe was coming off that loss to Venado Lopez, who beat, really, almost left him shot despite being so young. But thank you for the super chat, Josh Cabrera. I gotta watch tape on Gio. I gotta watch some tape on Gio and get back. I feel bad. I almost want to refund you the 5. I'm sorry, but we'll keep a lookout for that. He is the co-main event of Crawford Spence, Gio and Isak Cruz. So let me see. I think I may have missed a super chat up here as well. No, we're good. I got it. So, there was something I was thinking of, chat. There was something I was thinking of. Hold on. I'll have to. Let me pull from the chat to. Oh yeah. Watching Franchon versus Marshall. Indeed, I will. Let me get that ready. I mean, I can't play it. I can't play it for y'all, but let me at least. I can show you me getting ready to play it. .com. Boxing. Got to get the Franchon Cruz DAZN round by round ready. God damn, the Yankees are losing 11-0. The Yankees suck now. This is fucking... I gotta take this fucking poster down. They're not worthy. Hold on. Fucking Yankees. Fucking Yankees. And the Knicks, they're thinking of trading... Don't trade for James Harden unless you want to win 50 games and lose in the first or second round. I thought, just don't do that. Anyway. All right. Where is... Let's get to the ESPN Watch. Let's get to like the 13th sport they hold in regard, boxing. And here we go. Yep, Cruz DeZern, Savannah Marshall. I am ready to go once it's main event time. And we'll do a little round by round for the ladies, man. I got to favor Savannah Marshall today. Younger, better puncher, fighting at home. But Franchon Cruz DeZern, great woman. Awesome personality back here at home. Shout out to her. Nothing's been handed to her promotion-wise. Had to fight the greatest female boxer of all time on 2 weeks' notice in her first ever pro debut. It was Clarissa's pro debut, too. She hustled hard to become undisputed, sings, fashion designer. So, I got love for Franchon, but I do favor Savannah Marshall to win that fight today. So, we'll see. Let me see here. Sean, do you think Sergio Martinez should be in the Hall of Fame? Oof, good question. He's definitely a borderline case. I feel like back in the day, not quite, but in today's era, he probably gets in. He'll probably get in. I feel like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, he wouldn't have got in. But with fighters fighting much less often, it's a little easier to get in. He beat Paul Williams. He had one of the all-time great knockouts against Paul Williams. He beat Kelly Pavlik for the middleweight title. Him and Chavez was a huge fight. Chavez was 50-0 at the time. Beat him up. I'll put it that way. I think Martinez is going to get in. I don't think he would have got in 25 years ago, which is kind of to my man, Ben's point. FightHype, the FightHype's point, which is everybody is a Hall of Famer now. And I think it's ridiculous that Diego Corrales didn't get in the Hall of Fame yet. This is the first, this upcoming induction class is the first year I get to vote on it. And my first order of business is Diego Corrales. I mean, he beat Joel Casamayor, undefeated Robert Garcia, undefeated Acelino Freitas. He beat Jose Luis Castillo in the greatest fight of the new century. I mean, those are 4 huge wins, and had some other wins against good fighters sprinkled in there too, but those are 4 wins against legit champions, all at the peak of their powers, one of them being, maybe the most memorable fight in the last 25 years against Castillo. So, Corrales got to get in. Borderline? Damn. Sergio borderline, but Mel is a lock. Mel got to those 4 belts that Sergio didn't. Mel got to be undisputed. Sergio beat better fighters than Jermell. He beat Pavlik and Paul Williams. I think are 2 better wins than anything on Jermell's resume. But it's kind of like Terrence Crawford at 140. It's you could talk about really Ndongo and Postal was very decent, but really, but you beat Joe Louis. Ben, some people still tell you Joe Louis is the best heavyweight of all time, and nobody argues that he's still top 5. And it wasn't so much who he beat, but his longevity, the 25 title defenses, holding the belt from 1937 to 1951. I don't know if you'll ever see a heavyweight champion reign that long. So it's kind of more of that argument, the longevity, the reigning, sustaining, that kind of stuff. But yeah. So let me see. I was going to make another point about that. God damn. Yeah. So I got to stop the GDs, by the way. I get some people in the comments saying, I love the lives, but you got to stop using God's name in vain so much. And I agree with you. It's just a habit. I think a lot of it is growing up watching the show South Park, where, whenever something would go wrong or something would irritate Stan and Kyle or Cartman, they'd be like, God damn it. God damn it. Or Cartman, God damn it. And so it's just a reflexive thing, but I gotta chill. I'm grown now. I gotta know better. Von Dutch says, Sean, do you think Demetrius Andrade gets either Charlo fight? Well, he's certainly not getting the Jermell Charlo fight. To me, the Jermell Charlo fight makes sense, but I'm thinking Jermell gets a layup his next fight, a very soft touch, because he could get beat by Andrade. So if you're going to get in there and fight Andrade, you might as well have taken the Canelo payday, because there is no guarantee you win the Andrade fight. And if you were going to take an L, you might as well have taken it to Canelo for 8 figures instead of Andrade for much, much, much less money. So I would think if the plan was to not just send Charlo to Jermell to Canelo, then the plan is still something more long-term for Jermell to rebuild him and get him right. So I don't think they put him in with Andrade right. Maybe they do. I do think that's the next fight for him in terms of significant fight, but I don't know about that. Andrade's been rumored with Plant. I still think there's a chance maybe they decide to give Andrade to Benavidez and go, you know what? What are we doing here? Why are we making Benavidez versus Morrell this undercooked, this not marinated, this raw? This Morrell kid's a good-looking kid. He could punch. He's already learned the language. He's got a future. Why feed him to the Mexican monster? And for the Mexican monster, he might lose to this kid who's got the great, salsa cumbia feet and the punching power to go with it to spoil his night. These two could fight in a real pay-per-view 2 or 3 years from now. Maybe we feed Andrade to Benavidez or something. I don't know. We don't know how the cards are going to be shuffled in the deck. So we'll see. Let me see here. Freddie Viega says, Martinez deserves it. He's a good guy. Grew up in the same hood as my family in Argentina. That's cool. And he got it the hard way. He lost to Margarito on the Morales Barrera 1 undercard in 2000. He kind of pulled a Winky right. He goes over to Spain, reinvents his style. Winky reinvented himself from a moving boxer into the famous, high guard, beautiful high guard behind the southpaw jab. Martinez became this unique, awkward, athletic mover, lots and lots of movement, punching from his waist upwards and doing all kinds of crazy angles and athletic feats with his feet. So, yeah, I mean, he showed a lot of character going back to Spain and reinventing himself and then coming back to America 10 years later in his late 30s. In his late 30s, relying on an athletic style when athleticism is supposed to be the first thing to go, and then you got to rely on the fundamentals as you age. This guy defied odds by moving around the ring better than 20-year-olds in his 30s. So, yeah, Martinez is good in my book. I'm a Martinez guy. I like him. I knew he was going to beat Pavlik. I was a little salty when he beat Paul Williams because I love Paul Williams, but he won me over. So, let me see here. Andrew Castellanos, thank you for the super chat. Andrew asking me, who do you think hits harder, Caleb Plant or Charlo? Really think about it. I think Charlo. I know you said really think about it, and then I answered in 1 second, but I think Charlo, despite being a 54, I just, I don't know. Plant has a good left hook. He doesn't have a right hand. He has no pop on his right hand. Plant has a good left hook. But I think Charlo got that brick, man. He's got the kind of two-fisted power. I mean, he made Jason Rosario have a seizure on the ground from a jab to the body. So the left is strong. He's put guys down off his jab. He knocked out Tony Harrison off the left hook. Knocked out Lubin with the right hand. Knocked out Castaño finishing off a combination with both hands, hurting him with both hands, finishing with the right hand. Charlo's got more of that anchor on his right hand. He sits down on that motherfucker and he could hurt you with it. He throws it with bad intentions. Plant doesn't. Plant's being technical, trying to just throw it nice and straight to the body, straight up top. And the only shot Plant really sits on and gets that real, oomph on is that double left hook he likes to throw like he knocked out Anthony Durrell with. But Charlo, two-fisted puncher, throwing bombs with bad intentions. The intentions he throws his shots with are meaner and with badder intentions than Caleb Plant. Now, head-to-head, Plant may very well beat Jermell Charlo, put the jab on him, and be kind of, the physically natural 168, and beat him head-to-head. But I think Charlo's the better puncher, despite never fighting at 60 or 68. That's how I see it. That's how I call it. Good question, though. Good question. James Compton said that B-Hop put them paws on Winky. He did, but I love Bernard. I mean, Bernard along with El Terrible Morales, my favorite fighters of all time. I got Bernard's poster. You just can't see it. It's up there. But Bernard kind of ducked Winky at 160 a little bit. At the time he fought Ben, you'll remember. At the time he fought Jermaine Taylor. Now, you couldn't criticize Bernard because Jermaine Taylor was a monster prospect. Was on paper, Jermaine Taylor is one of the best prospects of the last 25 years. Easily. Like the way, like we talk about Ryan Garcia was this great prospect, and he is in terms of the hand speed and being so tall at lightweight and having the explosive punching power and left hook. But Jermaine Taylor was like, he was 6'1" at once, not lean, a strong 160, a great jab, one of the most highly touted jabs, an Olympian, a bronze medalist. He had a WNBA, like Jermaine Taylor on paper was one of the best prospects in a long time. So Hopkins took that fight. He wanted to get back at Lou DiBella, but Hopkins, the real fight he was supposed to take at that time was Winky Wright. Winky had pieced up Trinidad at 160 2 months before Hopkins lost to Taylor. So that fight, we really would have known who was the better man more at 160. I think Bernard might have lost to Winky around that time because he was killing himself to make 160. He was drained at 160. That's why when he moved up to light heavyweight, he was rejuvenated. But I do think at their best, Bernard's so much bigger than Winky at 6'1" versus 5'10", punches harder than Winky. I think Bernard would have beaten Winky at their best, but around 05, when Bernard opted for Jermaine Taylor instead, Winky might have beat him. I got a super chat. I didn't want to. Hey, Raider Reaper, what's going on? Raider Reaper with the breaking news here on FightHype saying, nobody believes me, but Jermell Charlo versus Plant will be announced soon. Ooh. Maybe you're right, man. We remember them going back and forth at the Canelo Plant weigh-in when Plant came off the scales, weighed in, and then was making his way back to his hotel room, and he had a lot of energy for Jermell Charlo. Like, we're gonna fight, we're gonna get it next, and all that. I'm not doing the Caleb Plant impersonation right now. Not feeling it, but he I'd have to watch the clip again and then circle back with the impersonation. But he told him we'll get it next. We'll get it next. And Jermell was trying to encourage him, wish him good luck kind of thing. And Caleb was talking about we're gonna fight. So yeah, Raider Reaper, that's not a crazy prediction. Only thing that gives me pause for that, Raider Reaper, is again he could lose that fight against Plant. So if you're taking that level of a risk against a still a top fighter, then wouldn't you just go right to Canelo so that if you lose, you made the biggest money possible? This is how they think of these things sometimes, but I don't know. James Jackson said, what do you think of Kelly Pavlik? He was good. He was good. At 160, he was good. I think by the time Martinez I think Hopkins took a lot out of him. I think Hopkins ended him. Pavlik was doing his thing at 160. That rematch with Jermaine Taylor was much more competitive, but he still won. And he jumped up to 170, wanted that pay-per-view fight with Hopkins, thought Hopkins was old. Turns out Hopkins put on one of the all-time performances, boxed his ears off, and I think Pavlik was done after that. I think, I think Martinez beat what was left of him. And he might have beaten Martinez around the time he fought Jermaine Taylor and Edison Miranda. He might have beaten Martinez at that time. So Pavlik's not a Hall of Famer, but he was the middleweight champion. And his first fight with Jermaine Taylor, kind of one of the more slept-on great action fights since the year 2000. That was a great middleweight fight. You could actually argue that Taylor Pavlik won alongside Canelo Triple G2 and maybe Trinidad Hopkins, although that was a one-sided fight. You could argue those are the best fights at middleweight since the year 2000. My real hardcores in the chat might be able to correct me on that, but off top, Pavlik Taylor 1, Canelo Triple G 2, and Hopkins Trinidad. Those might be the 3 most memorable middleweight fights since the new millennium. But let me see here. Plant only lost to Canelo and Benavidez. What you mean dominated? Did someone in the chat say he'd get dominated by Jermell? I don't even have a winner in that fight right now. I am skeptical of Plant, him being the same fighter though. He took a lot of punishment against Benavidez and was knocked out previously against Canelo, but he came back from that and looked great. I don't know about this one. That was the kind of fight that could take a pound of flesh out of a fighter. The kind of punishment he took from Benavidez down the stretch. So we got to see what Plant has left. Because watching boxing a long time, being around a long time, studying the old fighters even, the kind of fight he had with Benavidez tends to take something out of you. And, yeah. So I have a feeling that might show up in a fight with Charlo. A fight that I would have picked Plant to win before that Benavidez fight. But after taking that beating in the last 6 rounds against Benavidez, I don't know if it was going to be quite the same. So, we'd have to see. But thank you, James. James saying this is a great platform. I appreciate it, man. CW, what's up, CW? CW said, yeah, but Sean, if a guy's MO is to sit around waiting for Canelo, how can y'all say he's ducking or say a guy is most deserving? As soon as Canelo enters the division, everybody else stops fighting. Well, it's just everybody knows that Benavidez is the fight for him at 68. Canelo never said undisputed. That word never left his mouth until Benavidez got stripped of the WBC. And then Benavidez hasn't just sat around. He headlined a pay-per-view here in Vegas. The pay-per-view, they sold out the MGM. He was the headliner. He sold most of those tickets, not Plant. So, Benavidez has moved the needle since the Canelo thing. These other guys that you're talking about, yeah, you like Andrade, and yeah, you got a point, of course, but Benavidez has built some momentum in his career, and even when he fights overmatched opponents, he's not going 12 rounds with them sometimes like Jermell Charlo or Demetrius Andrade. He's blowing David Lemieux out of there in 3 rounds. He's taken Kyron Davis, Ronald Ellis, Alexis Romero Angulo. He's getting them out of there. None of them are going 12. They're getting beat up and put out. So, he's done his part in the meantime. I know some of us want him to go to 75, fight Beterbiev, but Beterbiev's with Top Rank, and Beterbiev and Top Rank won't even do business with Hearn and Bivol to make Undisputed. So what makes you think it's realistic that PBC and Top Rank would come together for Benavidez and Beterbiev? I mean, there's more money in that fight, but no. So, Canelo's ducking Benavidez right now, but Undisputed versus Undisputed, Jermell Charlo's really a big 154 anyway. I'm down. I'll watch it. I'm looking forward to the fight, But I'm not afraid to still call a spade a spade. Tim Tszyu has a right to feel ducked, and so does David Benavidez. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to see it. King Boxing says you didn't get Plant out, but let's not act King Boxing like Kenny Bayless did and assist Caleb in getting to the final bell. And yeah, he assisted him. He gave him numerous breaks where he was allowed to be looked at by the doctor for well over a minute a couple of times. He allowed him to excessively hold and never warn him. He actually warned Benavidez a couple times. So Bayless was clearly in the bag for Plant for whatever reason. And so that, you can't make excuses though, because David didn't use his fucking jab. He was reaching with power shots. He was getting his ears boxed off for 5 rounds until Plant began to fade. So, I'm not, it wasn't a perfect performance for Benavidez, but I think there's a very good chance he wins that fight by stoppage without so many breaks given to Plant, and with some of the holding eventually being warned or points deducted to where he can't hold, and without being able to hold, he was probably going to get eaten alive in those championship rounds. So, yeah. Saying that Mel ducked Tszyu is crazy. Well, I'm not... It's more that Zoo has a right to feel that way. The man had his name on a contract signed, sealed, and delivered to fight, and it never happened. So Tim Tszyu has a right to feel the way he feels. Jermell Charlo has more, has the right to say, fuck you, Tim Tszyu. I'm going to fight Canelo Alvarez in a way bigger, better fight. So I'm just saying, Tszyu has a right to feel the way he feels, and Mel has a right to do what he does. It's a free country, right? So, Milton Doby, Sean, can Beterbiev leave Top Rank? I doubt it, Milton. Good to see you, Milton Doby, in the chat, man. Good to see you. I doubt it. They probably got Beterbiev locked in for a few more fights, and he's 38 years old. It's not like he, okay, once I'm done with Top Rank, by the time he's done with this current deal, he'll probably be 40 years old. So he's with Top Rank, and he's with Top Rank. So maybe because the Bivol lost the Canelo fight, and that's up in smoke, and there are no real options for either guy at 75. Maybe the teams come together and make a fight after all. Beterbiev and Bivol. That's what they should do anyways. Acevedo, 85. Thank you for the super chat, brother. No question attached to the super chat. Nothing, just the super chat. Thank you, Acevedo, super chat. Here, how do I press the celebrate? I can press celebrate. Celebrate the first super. How do I do it? I'm trying. Let me celebrate the man. Oh, to hell with it. I gotta get better. But thank you, Acevedo, 85, man. Acevedo. Oh, okay. I see. Now I see your question, Acevedo. Acevedo says, when does Pacheco get a shot at someone at the top? Diego Pacheco. I wouldn't move. I don't think Pacheco's ready just yet. He's a very tall, slender frame, and I worry for him in the exchanges. He's a kid who likes to exchange, and even though he's tall, he likes to fight, put his punches together, go to the body. Tough Mexican kid from South Central LA. I got a lot of love for Diego Pacheco, and actually, in LA, when you're on the 405 leaving Santa Monica heading into LA, there's a big Latin billboard that showcases Diego Pacheco. So apparently he has some star appeal down in Southern California too, and he's a great kid. But I wouldn't rush Diego Pacheco. He's a little light in the ass. He hasn't really developed his man strength yet. He guys like Gabe Flores, when they fought Venado Lopez, that really hurt him. It looked like a man against a boy. Pacheco hasn't really grown into his man strength yet. I think, what is he, 19, 20 years old? He's not even 20, even 20. And in the exchanges, because he likes to exchange, I think he could get hurt. And he's a little tall in that mid to close range where he likes to fight sometimes. He's little too tall to be staying in that range as often and as much as he likes to. You'd like to see him use that beautiful jab a little bit more and walk guys into shots. Box, be a little more skillful. Not necessarily moving around the ring a whole lot, but keeping guys on the end of that jab and not giving up your height and in the exchanges. Like, hey, let's do it. I feel better in the exchanges, swim without getting wet and all that. That's good. But keep that jab on him too and make him earn that real estate. Make him earn getting into mid to close range. Don't just give it away and say, let's bang, So that's my thoughts on Diego Pacheco. I like him. He has upside, but trust the process. Move him patiently right now. I know some people are talking about him and Berlanga. He could probably beat Berlanga right now, but run your own race right now, Diego. No rush. You got it, Acevedo. Thank you for the super chat, man. Happy you like the response. King KO says Benavidez sold 49,000 pay-per-views against Plant. I think I got reported that he sold in the hundreds, though, didn't he? Canelo sold 800,000 pay-per-views against Plant. You see how that works? Indeed, we do see how it works. That's why Canelo gets to do what the fuck he wants, and he's fighting Jermell Charlo. And I will be watching. Hey, Web dude, what's up, Web? Remember the 13th round days? I love boxing, of course. I remember, brother. I love boxing. So, yeah, man. Shout out to the 13th round. That was the message board back in the day. I was on there as a 14, 15-year-old learning boxing from guys that really knew boxing, that kept it very objective. There wasn't a whole lot of dick sucking on the 13th round. It was objective, high-level boxing talk, and a lot of these men taught me boxing at a higher level. So, yeah, man. I love boxing in the house. Web dude, shout out to the 13th round, man. King KO says PBC knows they got to build up Benavidez more before getting him in there against Canelo. You see it that way, King KO? I don't know. I perceive it more as PBC appeasing Canelo. You know, like operating in good faith. We're not just trying to feed you to Benavidez. What would you like to do, champ? Who would you like to fight first in your first of 3 fights? I want to fight Charlo. Okay, we'll get you Charlo. Jermell, do you want the fight? The fight is yours. I haven't fought in over 2 years, man. Jermell jumps. I'll take it, goddammit. I'll be the Charlo brother that fights him. Canelo, we got you the Charlo brother. Turns out it's actually Jermell. Does that work? Yes, I would love a 154-pounder who hasn't fought in a year and a half instead of the 175-pounder killing himself to make 168 pounds who's gnawing at the bit to put his hands on me. I'll take that. So I don't think it's more PBC holding out Benavidez and building him up. I think it's more PBC doing business with Canelo, making him happy, you know. And I wouldn't be surprised if Al Heyman really wants to make Spence Canelo more than Canelo Benavidez. I know Al talks to David Benavidez and has helped him greatly in his career, but I imagine his loyalty and affection lies more with Errol Spence. And it's a business, but even all businessmen say it's business, never personal, but it's always a little personal too. We're human beings after all. So, yeah, that's how I perceive it more. But I could be wrong. Could be wrong. I mean, I did do a live talking about Jermell Charlo for 2 hours, and it never happened. Super chat from my man Christian. King KO said Bevo played with himself in negotiations with Canelo. Now he has no one to fight. But Christian said, what's next for Virgil Ortiz with a win next weekend against Virgil Stanionis? Good question, because he's in no man's land on DAZN. All the big fights at welterweight are on PBC, whether it's Crawford, Spence, or Boots Ennis. So Golden Boy thawed some ice begrudgingly by making Ryan and Tank. They didn't really want to do that fight, but they were forced to. And after being forced to, and then seeing the check they got from, they may be like, maybe working with PBC ain't so bad after all. And so Virgil might have to make a jump to PBC. I don't know how much his team would let him do that, because on DAZN, there's nothing left after. I mean, this isn't even really a DAZN fighter. This is a PBC fighter fighting him on DAZN with Stanionis. I think he beats Stanionis. It should be a head-on collision, but one guy's a little bigger, one guy punches a little harder, and most importantly, one guy has a better jab. Virgil. I expect Virgil to win that fight like you do. And then after that, man, I don't know. Virgil's stock has taken a hit with the health problems outside of the ring. So we'll see. Virgil, I think he'll look great against Stanionis. That's going to be an excellent fight. I think Virgil wins that fight. And then after that, I don't know. He because all the big fights at that division are at PBC, so I'm not sure what exactly he can do. It would be best for his career if De La Hoya is beginning to bury the hatchet with PBC. So, we'll see. King KO says PBC is the matchmaker, not Canelo. Benavidez hasn't reached star level and PBC knows it. No. Canelo, you ain't gonna force a guy like Canelo Alvarez into the ring, into a fight he doesn't want. You're just not. It's a two-way street. You once a guy brings that much money to the table, you know, it's a compromise. You don't dictate to him, this is who you fight and when. Canelo's long past those days. You got it, Christian. Thank you for thanks for enjoying it, brother. Lord Vaughn says he's ducking Benavidez, mandatory for years. He is ducking Benavidez right now. I still think he's a true champion and he's going to fight Benavidez as long as Benavidez doesn't lose to Morrell, if that fight even happens next. But although Spence beating Crawford could throw a big wrench into everything, because Benavidez could wind up beating Morrell and Canelo could say, fuck that, I'm fighting the welterweight moving up at Cowboy Stadium in his hometown. Fuck that. And at that point, it remains a duck. He's ducking Benavidez right now, technically. But it's a good fight with him and Charlo. I'm still looking forward to it. Two things can be true at once. He could be ducking Benavidez and still fighting a very intriguing fight with Jermell Charlo. Nerd says, this the same dude that claims Benavidez can whoop on Beterbiev. I've given Beterbiev a lot more respect in the last year. Really impressed me against Joe Smith last summer. Continued to impress me defending the title against Yard and Marcus Brown. So I speak more highly on Beterbiev than I did in the past. I still think Benavidez, if he were to ever comfortably move up to 75, maybe get a fight in before getting in there, I still think he could beat Beterbiev because he, Callum Johnson did drop Beterbiev. This guy isn't invincible. And before you say Ronald Gavril dropped David Benavidez was about the same age Canelo Alvarez was when Jose Cotto wobbled him. They were babies. Benavidez is a big 68. If he were to move up to 75, he might be even stronger and more comfortable at 75 than he is at 68. And he's not the puncher that Beterbiev is, but he's a puncher. He's a puncher, and he's faster than Beterbiev. So I mainly favor Benavidez because he equals Beterbiev's size. He moving up from 68, he'd be very big 68, be very comfortable at 75. I think he'd rehydrate and be stronger at 75 than he's been at 68, where he's probably losing some strength sucking down. And then he matches the size and the height of Beterbiev. No one punches quite like Beterbiev, but he's a hell of a puncher himself. And then his big advantage over Artur Beterbiev is speed. Speed kills. When they open, look, Marcus Brown and come on, man, Anthony Yard buzzed Beterbiev. Okay, Anthony Yard with his athleticism and hand speed, much lesser fighter than David Benavidez. He gave Beterbiev some resistance. Speed kills. Basically, I would give the edge to Benavidez because of speed. I think he blows out. I think he's faster than Beterbiev. He has a bigger advantage in speed than Beterbiev does in physical size and strength and power over Benavidez. But as I say that, Beterbiev got some underrated feet, underrated skills. He's not just a one-trick pony. He's a hell of a fighter. That'd be a hell of a fight. I still favor Benavidez because he's younger and much faster. But that's just my opinion, brother. Raider Reaper, my man, saying Undisputed versus Undisputed is crazy. Has that happened? Certainly not in the four-belt era. I saw someone on Twitter and Steven Espinoza co-signing it that the last true Undisputed versus Undisputed was Jose Napoli's, the welterweight champion, Mantequilla, the Cubano who went to Mexico. Jose Napoli's against Carlos Monzon, the Argentinian middleweight great, 74. But yeah, I can't ever think of Undisputed versus Undisputed. No. Can't. It's unprecedented from that aspect. So that's why, despite, wanting to call a spade, Charlo, you never got in the ring with Zoo. Canelo, you continue to refuse to get in the ring with Benavidez. They're having a historic, unprecedented fight, so there's only so much you can talk about. You could talk about that, but then you do got to point out, hey, this is a pretty good fight, actually. Better than your first reaction might tell you, because Jermell's not really a little 54. He's a huge 54. And Canelo's not really a big 68. He's a small 68. And so, Undisputed versus Undisputed, that's never happened. It's actually a good fight. So, oh, that's true. Katie Taylor versus Chantel Cameron was Undisputed versus Undisputed. Damn, look at Ben. See, Ben has a daughter, and I do not yet. My wife is pregnant with the second kid. It might be a girl, and if it is, I doubt I would forget things like Katie Taylor versus Chantel Cameron. Shout out, BT. You are correct. Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron just did this. God damn it. I gotta stop saying the god damn it. Timing beats speed, and that's what Beterbiev has, though, since Beterbiev is a counterpuncher. True. Look, hey, Beterbiev knocks David out, I wouldn't be shocked. I just think that David has good timing, too. David has an excellent jab. David's very fast, great combination puncher, knows how to catch and shoot. big kid who would be even stronger at 75, much younger, a decade plus younger. I favor Benavidez, but if you favor Beterbiev, you know, I definitely understand why. I get it. Brian Flores Monreal said he signed to fight the network, but not to fight him. You're lame. Well, Brian Flores Monreal, I'm not lame. I'm the motherfucker who's been pressing Canelo about Benavidez. I am the Canelo Benavidez guy. So you got that twisted up, my friend. Let's pull the receipt, shall we? Canelo angry Benavidez. FightHype. Look at this. Look at this. All me. Hold on. FightHype. I'm trying to find the time that Canelo shut down the press conference because I asked him about Benavidez. Hold on. We'll find it. Damn it. Canelo GGG3 post-fight FightHype. Here we go. All right. This is for you, Brian, for saying I'm lame. Like I'm trying to give Canelo a pass.
Sorry for the delay Sal had.
Let me show you something, my friend.
In the eye that he's getting
boxing is need time to recover. I suppose.
No more questions because I'm a little mad and I'm tired. Thank you.
Okay. So the question was, about, you'll need, obviously need some more time to recover, but thinking about the Bivol rematch and possible other rival.
Where was it? Hold up.
No me falten al respeto con eso. No quiero sonar.
Hold up.
Because I represent.
Here it was.
With Triple G,
So here, this is for Brian, chat. This is on Brian. We getting on Brian for saying. Where was the comment? Hold on, Brian. It was Brian Flores Monreal said he signed to the network, but not to fight him. I'm lame. Like I said that to the guy saying he signed to the same network. Okay, well, I'm sorry, Brian. You probably weren't even talking, but whatever. I'm too far gone now. I just got to finish my original point.
I'm sorry to ask you this after you go a hard 12 rounds about what's next, but we know you have talked about the Bivol rematch next, but you've also said you hope Ramirez wins that fight. And if Ramirez wins that fight, you don't want to fight him because you're both Mexican. So at 68, the best fight looks like you and Benavidez. He's born in America. He's half Ecuadorian. So does he count as Mexican, or that fight can happen if in the future?
I don't know. Anything can happen,
But that won't be a reason why I can hold it up that he's Mexican. But
like when I guys, always I say this. You share that video and put whatever you want. When I say
Brian Flores Monreal, my apologies, brother. This happens to me all the time. I'm responding to someone in the chat who's talking to someone else in the chat, not me. So disregard Brian Flores Monreal. I'm just being a douchebag looking for another excuse to bring up this clip anyways.
I don't want to fight Mexican because I represent Mexico. And that's why. But I don't care. I fight anybody. And I fight all my entire life anybody. What do you think? I don't want to fight with one Mexico, Benavidez. But look, I hear his dad talking a lot of shit. But look, he's accomplished nothing. One single champion, Anthony Derrell. Now it's Caleb Plant. Please, don't disrespect myself. Please, guys.
I didn't mean to disrespect you, champ. I love you. I want to see the Benavidez fight. That's all. Come on, Canelo. That's your prerogative. If you're gonna duck him. I'll watch the Charlo fight and love it. But I gotta say you ducked him. It's kind of my job. I'm sorry, Canelo. I got that man's poster behind my head. But you gotta fight Benavidez at some point. That's how this works. So, or not, or you could duck him and see little, assholes like me bring it up sometimes and do with that what you will. But yeah, Canelo hurts David to the body, says Acevedo 85. He does, but I don't think he stops him. And if he doesn't stop David in the first 6 rounds and he fades down the stretch like he tends to, I think David puts the kind of shots on Canelo hasn't really been hit with before, because Bivol, when Canelo faded, was still very respectful, still didn't want to exchange, still didn't fully commit to his punches. Benavidez, if Canelo fades like he did against Bivol, will put real leather on him. We'll hit him and try to hurt him, and so it'll be a different story. I think the first half of that fight favors Canelo, and the second half of that fight favors Benavidez. So let me see. Bert Martinez said Benavidez, when he sparred Dimitri Bivol, Benavidez got the best of him. What do I think of that fight? Oh man, it's already 140. Sheesh. Is it 140? It might. Oh man, chat. It might be time to check out the Franchon Cruz DAZN fight. Let me take a look at ESPN real quick. Hold on here. Hit the like button, please, if you haven't already. Makes us look good. Let me see here. Raider Reaper says, I think you don't understand what he means when he says by not fighting Mexico. No, I got his point. His point is, I get his point, but it's just that, look, Canelo, it's about the best fighting the best, regardless if they come from Mexico, Philippines, anything. We want you to fight this kid Benavidez because he has blazing hand speed, combinations. You and his styles would be beautiful together. It would be like, it has the potential to be like a Morales Barrera at 168, the 168-pound version. So yeah, man. And if anything, you should want to add to your country and your culture's history and lineage of amazing fights between each other, and continue to cement that reputation across the world that Mexicans are warriors and put on amazing fights and will fight anybody. And we got Benavidez ducking Morrell. Talk about that. Benavidez isn't ducking Morrell. I think they try to make the Munguia fight. Looks like that's not going to happen. And now they'll move on to the Morrell fight. And if that fight doesn't happen, if Benavidez turns down Morrell and you want to say he ducked Morrell, go for it. What goes around comes around, right? Called Canelo ducking you, you can call that. All right. But that fight really isn't ready yet. Canelo and Benavidez could sell out Allegiant Stadium. David Morrell has 9 professional fights. 9 professional fights. Like, why make that fight right now? That fight doesn't make sense right now. David Morrell has a future. He has upside. He's 24, maybe 25 years old. That fight could be a legit Cuba versus the Mexican-American. That could be a legit Latin market pay-per-view 2 or 3 years from now. Right now, it barely does pay-per-view numbers. They'll put it on pay-per-view. Actually, Benavidez Morrell is already, even though it's not really ready yet to be made, in my opinion, it's already the second best fight at 168. But it ain't really ready yet. I think it makes more sense for Benavidez to fight a more established veteran like Andrade right now, as Morrell continues to build his name and profile. But, I mean, if you want to say he's ducking Morrell, that's your prerogative. I don't view it that way, but so David Benavidez isn't a hard puncher, he's a volume puncher. I disagree. He is a hard puncher. He's just not a one-punch knockout artist, and he's also been fighting a lot of guys who are shelling up to survive. He's not fighting. Plant held on for dear life. Kenny Bayless helped him from getting stopped. And then the guys like Ellis and Romero Angulo and a lot of these guys have been shelling up, not opening up in exchanges after they taste the power early, and kind of start fighting to survive behind the high guard. And as they shell up in that high guard, not wanting to get caught clean, he's been having to beat them down from attrition, splitting the high guard nonstop, getting them on the ropes, hitting them repeatedly, pounding on them. I think he would have got some of those guys out of there earlier if they were really trying to win and open up an exchange. Now, he's still not a one-punch knockout artist, but I disagree that he's just this accumulation guy. I think he punches hard, and I think he could drop guys on single shots when they're opening up and exchanging with him, not when they're shelling up or trying to survive. But I think Benavidez can crack. They were all smaller fighters. They were. And he got him out of there. Martin Gonzalez, Benavidez got dropped by a jab. FightHype, by a non-power puncher, no chin Benavidez. Martin Gonzalez, that he was 10 months older than Canelo Alvarez was when he got held up by the ropes off a left hook from Jose Cotto. Should we really hold that against them for the rest of their career? You know Muhammad Ali went down against, what was it, Henry Cooper? Muhammad Ali at 21 years old, older than David was when he went down against Gavril. Muhammad Ali went down against Henry Cooper. But guess what? When he became a real full-fledged grown man, his chin held up against George Foreman. Oscar De La Hoya, early in his career, skinny legs, when he was 23, 22, he went down at lightweight against John Molina. Fast forward to him being a full-grown man in his late 20s, and Felix Trinidad and Fernando Vargas and Shane Mosley can't put him down with some of their best shots. So I think it's a little silly to continue to bring up that Gavril knockdown. It would be like saying, oh, De La Hoya has no chin. He went down against John Molina. Muhammad Ali has no chin. He went down against Henry Cooper. Canelo Alvarez has no chin. He had the ropes hold him up against Miguel Cotto's little brother. So, you don't think Canelo looks at Benavidez the way Benavidez looks at Morrell? Yeah, there's some similarities there. It's the younger guy, the less proven guy who's extremely dangerous, and you'd rather fight more established veterans. Yeah, there's some parallels there, but I think Benavidez is less weary. I think Benavidez is less weary of Morrell than Canelo is of Benavidez. Just from talking to these, I talk to these guys sometimes. And I understand when someone's telling you one thing and their actions provide something different. I don't pick up at all from David Benavidez that he's hesitant to fight Morrell at all. I think after Morrell was talking trash last week, he wants to beat his ass, but he knows. I just headlined my first pay-per-view. Why can't I fight established veterans like Charlo, Andrade, and Canelo? I've done that. Like, this kid's had 9 fights. I was a world champion 6 years ago. I'm the youngest super middleweight champion of all time, and it was the green belt. It wasn't no WBA regular this. It was the full-fledged WBC title, and I got stripped of it twice. That's his fault, but yeah, man, Morrell ain't been a champ for 6 years. Morrell's not the youngest WBC super middleweight champion in boxing history. Morrell hasn't headlined and sold out the MGM Grand, so it's not quite apples to apples. But you guys know I do like me some David Benavidez. Maybe I'm being a little biased. I don't know. I know I'm not actually, but I'm just saying that. Do I think Devin's moving up to 40 next? I don't know what Devin's doing next. Devin has some of the best options in boxing right now. Devin has some of the most extensive options at his feet right now in boxing. I don't know exactly where he's going to move. I would think 140, because no matter how much money they throw at you, Dev, at 35, if you can't be 100% at 35, move up. I don't care. Money's not worth it if you're not 100%, because you got to be 100% for Lomachenko, Stevenson, and Tank Davis. So I have a feeling he'll move up to 40, but I don't know. I think Arum is going to make a very lucrative offer for a rematch against Lomachenko at 35, because I think that fight exceeded expectations a little bit at the box office. They sold out the MGM. Pay-per-view numbers did good. They made like $3 million at the gate. So I think Arum's going to give him a strong pitch for a rematch with Loma. But if he can't get down to 35 comfortably anymore, then don't take the rematch. You got to be at 110% for the best of the best. 6'2" Mexican says David Benavidez should move up to 175. If David had a crystal ball that told him Canelo will never fight you, then yeah, it would be time to move up to 75. But with the potential Canelo 50, like $20-25 million on the table, a human being is not going to move up from that weight until they get that payday. So I asked David 3 years ago, back in 2020, about moving up to 75 when I visited him in Big Bear to fight Beterbiev. I said, why don't You know, why don't you stop wasting your time messing with these 68s who aren't really trying to fight you? Go up to 75 where you don't have to kill yourself anymore. Fight Better BF and be great. And, you know, so I pressed that issue with him before, but they want the Canelo fight. And the Better BF fights with Top Rank, and he's with people, you know, so it is what it is. King KO said, Sean, you talked about the numbers with Morrell only have 9 fights and no pay-per-views, but when I talked about the low pay-per-view numbers from Benavidez, you had an issue with that. I'm seeing Benavidez bias. I actually didn't see, I don't recall saying that to your comment about the 49,000. I think I just said, I think it got reported he actually did in the 100,000s, not 49. And I said, yeah, I see how, my quote was, I said, yeah, I see how that is. That's why he's doing what the fuck he wants to do, and he's fighting Charlo, and because he's the man. He gets to call the shots. There you go. But at least he's on pay-per-view and headlining and selling out the MGM Grand. You know, that's at least Morrell hasn't done any of those things. So he's closer to equal footing with I get your point. He's about as close as equal footing with Canelo as Morrell is with him. And if you're the big bad boogeyman so bad and you're getting ducked by everybody, well, fight that young motherfucker who might beat you. Do that. I'm fine with that if you feel that way. But I understand. I think for the benefit of Morrell too, not just Benavidez, why make this fight right now? Morrell has a great future. He doesn't draw anything yet. I think he will be a draw in due time because he's, you know, good-looking kid, could punch, fun style, speaks English already. Not a lower weight guy, but a big Cubano. So why make the fight now? If it is the second best fight in the division besides Canelo and Benavidez. But you know, I just feel like I'm cool with Benavidez getting Andrade next and Morrell continuing to trust the process and them fighting 2 or 3 years from now. But if y'all want to say he's ducking Morrell, that hey, it's your prerogative. Let me see. I got a text. Okay, cool. I'm gonna stay in this chat and we will start the Franchon Cruz DAZN suit. Oh, it looks like co-main event still going on. Damn, they are taking a minute. Who's coming to the ring now? Let me see. Man, I was ready to call the main event. You guys are taking too long. Johnny Garcia said, bro wants his cheeks clapped by Benavidez. Johnny, I don't know why you like to put images in your head of men clapping other men's cheeks. That's an issue you got to handle, Johnny Garcia. I don't understand why you start thinking of homosexual intercourse when we're talking boxing and giving opinions on the sport and the business. That's your issue, Johnny Garcia. If you're into that kind of thing, we welcome everybody to the chat, Johnny Garcia. Everyone welcome Johnny Garcia to the chat. We like to keep everyone from all around the world, all walks of life. Johnny Garcia, welcome to the super chat. Or to the chat, excuse me. Raider Reaper says Morrell and Benavidez' style are extremely similar. You know, I disagree. I think Morrell uses his feet a lot more than Benavidez. I think Benavidez keeps his hands up a little bit better than Morrell, catches and shoots better than Morrell. Morrell more athletic than David, especially not so much with hand speed. David's got fast hands, but he doesn't have the life and bounce and rhythm and creativity in his feet that David Morrell has. Benavidez attacks a little bit more fundamentally sound. Morrell's a little bit more makes wrong right. Uses his athletic gifts to get away with things other fighters can't, like a Roy Jones would do. So I think they're different in those ways. Ben Whitaker fight is next. Probably won't last long, and then main event. Might want to turn it on now to be ready. Yeah, I got the card ready right now. I got the fight turned on right now. Ben Whitaker, Sugar Hill Stewart in the ring with him. My wife welcomed Johnny. That's good, man. Johnny, I got love for you, Johnny. Sorry, I had to come back at you. Where did Johnny go? Where is Johnny in the chat? Come on, chat. We all welcomed him. My wife said welcome, Johnny. We welcomed you, brother. Where'd you go? Sean, who do you think wins the rematch between Joyce and Zhang? I mean, Joyce showed us nothing in that first fight, but I don't know. Something in me still says Joyce is supposed to win that rematch somehow. He showed nothing in that first fight. He got beat from the opening bell and got exposed against a guy who kind of could match his physical strength and size. And all that said, even though Joyce gave me no reasons to think he could turn the tables, he wasn't even competitive with Zhang. I would think that wasn't the real Joe Joyce in there. Maybe he took Zhang a little lightly. I don't know. That's my answer to it. Joyce, despite Joyce not giving any reason in that first fight to think he could make it better the second time, I still don't count him out. He has so much more pedigree than Zhang with the gold medal and everything. And just 4 months ago, we were talking about Joyce as a guy who might be able to beat Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. Could we have been that wrong? I mean, I didn't think he would beat those guys, but I'm saying we were starting to flirt with the idea that he had a chance. You know, was he really that exposed, or does he have more than he showed in that first fight? I think he can't do worse. He can't do worse than he did the first time around, so I expect him to do better, whether he wins or loses. Yeah, I will be doing a round by round for Big Baby tonight. I can't wait. Actually, I'm excited for Big Baby tonight. I'm excited. Charles Martin, I think, makes that a better fight. Because Big Baby, he calls himself Big Baby, but he's actually kind of the medium, the smaller baby in the division. Outside of Usyk, the elites are going to be monsters in today's heavyweight division. Once Lennox Lewis took over in the late 90s, on through Vladimir Klitschko, into Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, with Usyk being the exception, it's been a not a big man's division, a giant's division. And Jared Anderson's big, but not a giant at 6'4", 240. At 6'4", 240, I think he's just at kind of the minimum size he'll need, you know, where he won't be too small. But you know, outside of Usyk, he's going to have to get used to fighting bigger men than him. And Kosabutsky, his first opponent from Kazakhstan, 6'3", comes forward. He was small compared to Jared. Charles Martin is bigger than Jared. He has a longer reach. He's taller. Right now, he has more weight on him. So Charles Martin, to me, presents a better step up in challenge and class for Jared. And Jared, I got a funny feeling about tonight with Jared Anderson. All week long, the talk has been about, did you hear Jared talking about retirement at 26, 27? Did you hear Jared talking about he doesn't love boxing like that? Or he's not in love with boxing? And I have a funny feeling God kind of has something in store for him tonight where he's going to be tested. And he's going to have to, you know, further find out who he is on the inside tonight. Martin will lose this fight, but at some point maybe hit Jared with a shot he hasn't been hit with in the pros and make him have to dig deep and further realize just how much of a fighter he really is. And I have a feeling Jared might survive his first scary moment tonight as a professional, withstand it, get through it, win the fight by knockout, and then after the fight be kind of emotional and realize, I am built for this, I do want this. And kind of put to bed some of the things he said earlier where he said, I'm not in love and I want to retire at 27. I have a feeling if Charles Martin makes him walk through the fire, that he's going to love the gratification that it comes from digging deep and say, no, I love this. I actually do want this. Maybe I'm being way too romantic. Ben, what do you think of that? BT, what you think of that? But maybe I'm being way too romantic with my thinking, but something in me tells me that's going to happen tonight for Jared Anderson. We'll see. I'm actually genuinely excited to call his fight tonight. Meanwhile, Ben Whitaker is taunting and beating the crap out of his opponent in round one. Ben, please get this over with, Ben Whitaker, because I want to see the main event. Joe Hewitt said, Jared's not fully committed. I don't know if I can fully get behind him. I'm fully behind his talent, and I hear what you're saying about some cause for concern about his recent comments, but that's why I just got a funny feeling God, I believe in God, God's going to kind of have something in store for him tonight that tests him, and it's going to be a good test for him. It's going to make him realize something deeper about himself as a fighter and as a man, and I think getting through the other side of that, it's such an exhilarating, gratifying feeling that it'll rekindle his love and passion for what he's doing. Maybe I'm tripping, but we'll see. Red Diaz says, nope, easy work. You're right. It might just be too much easy work, and Jared just blows through 37-year-old Charles Martin. All that adversity and all that shit is out the window, and he just wins another easy fight and continues to feel the same way he does. But I got a funny feeling we got something better in store tonight. So, and maybe the man upstairs arranged for Charles Martin to be this late replacement. We'll see. Fire in My Bones says, I hope you're right, Sean, because all I'm seeing from the young man says nope. Damn. You hate... We'll see, man. We'll see. I think he could just be a young man dealing with his vulnerabilities and insecurities and all that, commitment issues and all that, and maybe we're seeing that play itself out in real time, and he'll pull up from all that tonight, or in the scenario I say. We'll see. Chicken Pie, what's up, Chicken Pie? Chicken Pie saying Ben Whitaker is really annoying with all this showboating. He is. Can someone tell Ben Whitaker that we have a Fight Hype live Cruz DeZern undisputed title fight to commentate and to get to? Hurry this shit up. Heron says Charles Martin will make it difficult tonight. 100. Let's see. Is Canelo versus Jermell a 50-50 fight? No, I'd say 70-30 Canelo, maybe 65-35. Competitive fight. Johnny never did come back, did he? Damn. It's okay. I'm hoping Johnny's still here, somewhere in the background. CW said, Sean, man, not everybody is going to be a star, and one fight doesn't make you a star. These guys got to stop stalling their career because Benavidez beating Morrell is the type of win that'll get the fight. Fair enough, CW. Fair enough. But I just think so many fights have been marinated and put off. Why do these two, when their fight actually does need marination, why is this one going to happen? Like, I don't know. It seems almost a little... I don't know. Not unfair, for lack of a better word, to Benavidez and Morrell, but it is already the second best fight at 68. I love the fight if it does happen. I just gave my thoughts on other reasons why I think maybe it could be pushed back for now, but it is the second best fight. It's a great fight. Benavidez Morrell at 68 is the second best fight behind Canelo and Benavidez 68. So, you might be right, CW. William Palma says, let's hear what you got today. Boycott all pay-per-view and make boxing free, paid by sponsors. Ugh. That sounds a lot easier said than done. I'm cool with pay-per-view as long as it's good fights. I've always been of the mind of I'd rather pay for a pay-per-view fight I really want to see instead of a fight for free on network television that's a mismatch that I didn't really care about in the first place. So sometimes you get what you pay for, Raider Reaper said David Morrell, 25-year-old, 6'1", 78-inch reach, volume puncher at 68. David Benavidez, 6'2", 78-inch reach, volume puncher at 68. Raider Reaper pointing out the similarities between Benavidez and Morrell. And those are similarities, but they have difference in styles. Morrell, a lot more bouncy, moves around a lot more with his feet. Does things kind of unorthodox, whereas Benavidez sets up combinations behind his power jab. Morrell will be more unique in his offensive approach and with his movements, with his feet, punching and pivoting off at the same time. So they have different styles to me for sure. But But Raider Reaper, you bring up a great point. They're the same size, the same age, almost the same age, basically the same size. Both like to throw high volume. So, yeah, you make good points there. Joe Hewitt asks, am I a fan of Frank Martin? Very much so. I think Frank is the boogeyman at lightweight. He's the guy with not enough big a name, but could give anybody, could give anybody, Shakur, Devin, Tank, could give any of them a run for their money on any given night, but doesn't have the name they have yet. So he's like that playoff team no one wants to face in the playoffs. You know, he's that dark horse. He's the kind of the boogeyman. He's kind of the guy no one, Esau, Cruz, Tank, none of them would want to get in there and fight him for the kind of risk reward he brings to the table. And what impresses me about Frank Martin is his level of skill at starting late at 18. It's a lot easier to start late at heavyweight, but in the lower weight divisions, it's much harder to be a late starter in boxing. And then it's another thing if you're a late starter and you know your hand speed, your athleticism, your punching power, your gifts are carrying you through. But it's another thing if you're really skilled despite being a late starter. And Frank Martin is really skilled. He can fight going backwards and forwards, lead and counter, punches hard, fast hands and athletic, strong. Frank Martin's a problem. Frank Martin's a problem that no one wants to solve willingly in the lightweight division. You know, he's got to Al Heyman. He's got to, you know, trust the process and let Al Heyman build his name up so that he can get those bigger names in the ring with him. But for the time being, what did Marvin Hagler say back in the day? He said he got 3 strikes against you. You're good, you're black, and you're a southpaw. That's Frank Martin right now, and he's like Marvin Hagler was. He's gonna have to navigate a tough road of tough fights before he gets the Hearns and the Leonards in there with him and the Durans in there with him. Marvin didn't get those guys in there with him till the mid 80s. He had to spend the early 80s fighting tough Philadelphia fighters, defending his title, fighting guys like Vito Antuofermo, you know, and that's what Frank's going to have to go through until he could get his name to that level to get them in there. So Frank Martin and David Morrell are in the same boat. Kind of, yeah, kind of. Dangerous. Morrell's younger than Frank Martin. Morrell's got to headline a couple of cards in Minnesota. Frank just headlined his first card against Rivera. He headlines in 2 weeks here in Vegas. I'll be there with my man Ron Goodall. So yeah, they're pretty much in the same boat. But Morrell has more youth on his side, and even though no one's really been able to connect with the Cuban fans into pay-per-view buys and into revenue, I would, you know, sometimes those Latin fan bases are a little easier to galvanize, I guess. All you have to do is wave the flag and speak the language, and they're kind of on board with you. Whereas for an American fighter, we don't have that easy, direct route to connection with the audience. You can't just carry an American flag and say "Viva United States" and kind of instantly get a certain group of people to support you immediately. So. But yeah, no, not pretty good comparison there. You're right. They're in a bit of the same boat. Yeah. Michael Hernandez says, "Love your channel. ESPN has to hire you. Love, respect, and harmony." Thank you, Michael. Much love, brother. Thank you. Bob Arum was stalling on Marvelous. Was he firing my bones? Were you around at that time in the 80s? Is that what Arum was doing to? It felt like Leonard was stalling Hagler, not Arum. I'm sure Arum wanted to make his money and make that big fight. Sounds like it was more Sugar Ray stalling Marvin Hagler than Arum. But I wasn't there in the 80s. What's up, boxing analyst? Good to see you in the chat. Ben Whitaker has dropped his man, but it looks like it was leading. Ben Whitaker, please end this fight for us so we can call the main event. Please, Ben. James Jackson, are you doing round by rounds for the Big Baby fight? Indeed, I am. I am doing round by round for Big Baby. I'll be a little early because I like Delonte Johnson. I want to call Delonte Johnson's fight. Who else? Top Rank has the best prospects. PBC's doing the big business at the top, at the top of the sport. But in terms of building up prospects, that's Top Rank's thing right now. Let me see real quick, because I know Delonte and Mason Abdullah, or Abdullah Mason, excuse me. But I want to call Mason Abdullah fights so early in the card that I'm not going to be live for that. But I do want to be live for Tiger Johnson. Let me see the whole card. I know the co-main event's the other heavyweight from Russia, Makhmudov. Okay, so tonight for the live for Big Baby Anderson, we'll start for the third fight out, Delonte Johnson. So we'll do Delonte Tiger Johnson against Jonathan Montrell. And then we'll do Arslanbek Makhmudov. And then we'll do the main event, Big Baby against Charles Martin. So that'll be the round by round for tonight, for when we check back in for ESPN's fights. Sean, are you the one who titles videos "Serious Knockout Warning"? No, man. That genius comes from the editor of the site, from the head of the site. Although apparently I will begin to start uploading and titling some of my own videos pretty soon. I'll be uploading more Undisputed content, chopping up, and with Canelo now just signing to fight Charlo, I got some footage from all my knockouts with Canelo. I'm going to put them together and drop that in the next few days. Canelo Undisputed highlights from the game. But no, I did not come up with a lot of those awesome titles. That is the creative genius of Ben. What's up, Marvelous Herb? What's good, brother? Good to see you, Marvelous. Ben Whitaker trying to close the show with Belushi. Who is this? John Belushi? John Belushi on the ropes. Who's pound for pound number one, Sean? Asked 6'2" Mexican. Johnny Garcia said, so you ain't going to respond to my... Oh, Johnny, you're back. Let me see what you said. Hold on. I'll find your response, Johnny. Hold up. I'm looking, Johnny. I'm looking for... The last thing you said was your fantasies of homosexual intercourse, which if you're into is just fine. But that's the last thing I remember you talking about. And I told you you're more than welcome from all walks of life to be in here with us. Johnny, you're more than welcome. Hold on, I'm looking for your other comment. Let's find it. Does anyone know where Johnny's comment is? Hold on. Nope, Johnny. Rewind the video. We had the whole chat welcome you. So, let's see here. Double R says, love the channel, Sean, and I do hope one day we see you on a giant platform. That's nice of you, brother. I appreciate that, man. Plus, keep yours. Yes, right. Keep it locked in on FightHype. Who's pound for pound number one, though? I don't feel like any fighter is like Floyd Mayweather was, is like Roy Jones was, is like Pernell Whitaker was, is like Canelo was in 2020 and 2021. I don't feel like any fighter right now is standing up head and shoulders above the rest. I feel like Canelo in 2021, 2020, 2019, he was that guy. He proved he earned the number one spot between level of opposition and quality of performance. And then racking up 4 belts in 11 months. You're tempted to put guys like I know Usyk. Usyk was probably the guy. Usyk, Crawford, and Inoue appear to be the 3 fighters that garner the most recognition for number one pound for pound. But I feel like Inoue. I actually feel like if Inoue beats Fulton, he has the best claim to pound for pound, because Fulton he's not in the top 10 pound for pound because it's hard to make room. But he's a top 10 pound for pound quality fighter. He's a top 15 pound for pound fighter right now. He's just outside the top 10. He's the unified, legitimate champ at 122. He's the naturally bigger man. He can box your ears off, and he's Philly tough like he showed against Angelo Leo and Brandon Figueroa. He can sit in there and bang. He's a complete elite fighter. Lacks a little punching power, but he's a complete elite fighter. And if Inoue in his 4th weight class could beat a fighter that excellent, that's already naturally bigger, that's what pound for pound's all about. So I feel like Crawford and Inoue, if they win their fights against the naturally bigger men in their 3rd and 4th weight classes, they are the 2 best fighters in the world, Crawford and Inoue. If Spence wins, he's cemented top 5, but he doesn't. Pound for pound in part is about proving you could beat bigger men. And Spence will not have done that yet. So Spence keeps his cemented as top 5 pound for pound if he wins. But I feel like Crawford and Inoue, if they get past Fulton and Spence, they're number 1 and number 2, however you want to have them, and Usyk's number 3. So that's how I see it right now. Fire in My Bones says, when Jermell beats Canelo, he's at the top in my opinion. I'd be very cool with that. If Jermell beats Canelo, absolutely. If Jermell beats Canelo, if Jermell beats Canelo and Inoue beats Fulton and Crawford beats Spence, those are clearly and then Usyk would be number 4. Those are clearly the best fighters in the world, pound for pound. Oh, he said he was taking a quick dump, babe. Oh, well, that's his thing. That's his thing. That's his fault. Babe, they want to know, Samantha, someone asked in the chat, my wife, if you're going to join for the prediction. They need your prediction too, babe. They don't just want to hear me. They want to know if you're going to join the round by round. So Raider Reaper said 2 fighters are undisputed on the pound for pound list, and that would be Canelo and Jermell, and they're fighting each other, right? So that's awesome. That is awesome. Haran said 39-0, 3 division, undisputed, all knockouts at welterweight. Crawford is number 1. Crawford has been the guy I tend to put at number 1, but the resume, he needs the Spence win to prove it. So Crawford was a guy in 2017, 2016. Crawford was a guy I had number 1 pound for pound around that time. 2016, 2017. I had Crawford when Floyd Mayweather retired after Andre Berto. And a lot of people put Andre Ward number 1 pound for pound. I put Terrence Crawford number 1 pound for pound and Andre Ward second. And then Ward, for a night or two before retiring, he held pound for pound for knocking out Kovalev in the rematch. And then Crawford would become undisputed in the same year. But basically, when Floyd hung him up after Berto, I considered Crawford the best fighter in the world, pound for pound. A lot of that, not even off his accomplishments, but just off the eye test. I know what I'm looking at. He's the best fighter in the world. But then once Canelo beat Triple G in the rematch in 2018, Canelo from Triple G all the way through Caleb Plant, to me, was the best fighter in the world, pound for pound. It was disputable if they were to fight head-to-head off the eye test if Canelo was better than Crawford. I still gave an edge to Crawford, but Canelo, his accomplishments so far exceeded Crawford that it made up for any slight edge I gave to Crawford with the eye test. So Canelo was pound for pound king from the Triple G rematch through the Caleb Plant win, and then he lost the pound for pound crown to Bivol. And a lot of people put Usyk there because he deserves it for beating a much bigger man in Joshua, coming off being undisputed at cruiserweight. So Usyk might have the best claim to number 1 right now. But for me personally, since Canelo lost to Bivol, I've felt like it's kind of vacant. And someone whether it be Usyk beating Fury, whether it be Crawford beating Spence, or whether it be Inoue beating Fulton, someone has to do something big to really grab the crown and not just kind of have it by default. That's how I look at it. Floyd Mayweather been saying Crawford's number 1 pound for pound for more than 6 years now. Yeah, and if not for Canelo beating Triple G, knocking out Kovalev, grabbing 4 belts in 11 months, I'd have kept Crawford there since 2016, since Floyd hung him up. But Canelo put in so much work in that time frame against big name opposition and having great performances. He earned it. He earned it with his work in the ring. He was the best fighter pound for pound. So yeah. I have 2 streams playing simultaneously. That's just how amazing we do it, Boxing Analysts. You know, we started, I don't know, 2 is better than 1, right, Boxing Analysts? Jermell Charlo will be the guy. Fire in My Bones. You're all with Jermell Charlo. You're not playing any games. You're going out on a limb. You got Jermell Charlo all day. I like it. I do love Jermell Charlo's patriotism. If he starts talking that USA shit at a conference against Canelo, starts being MAGA Mel, it might be a little hard not to. No, I'm just kidding. I I just think it's cool that Charlo embraced the flag and everything. I know it's a more complicated situation in the United States why we don't have this uniform patriotism. It's part of what makes it great. We get to be critical of our country and speak up and say bad things about it, as opposed to other countries where you're forced to submit to state propaganda. And we got a lot of state propaganda and whatnot, but that was cool of Jermell Charlo doing something we don't see often out of the United States. He grabbed that flag and waved it against Castaño and made the promotion that much fun. I think it'd be fun if he did the same with Canelo. You know, bring the United States flag out just like Canelo brings the Mexican flag out. Bring some national pride to this fight. USA versus Mexico, the two best countries in all of boxing, sending their two of their best to get it in. Let's get it. Let's get it. Mexico versus Puerto Rico, Mexico versus United States. Franchon Cruz-Dezurn warming up in the dressing room. Doesn't look that fast, and she doesn't have that kind of cut to her, but she looks very confident and comfortable in that dressing room right now. Does the undisputed super middleweight champion Franchon Cruz-Dezurn main event next. So, super chat from another live. Okay. Let me see here. Hold up. Let me get to. Thank you for point out. So, got 2 lives going once. So let me catch that super chat back. What's up, Mr. Quake? Mr. Quake, another chat. All right, Jim, the boxing life. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Said, what do you think of Jared Anderson versus Daniel Dubois or Frank Sanchez? I'm giving him a lot of credit because Frank Sanchez is really good. I think he beats both, but Frank Sanchez is a much tougher fight. Frank Sanchez is a tough fight for pretty much anyone at heavyweight because he could box like a middleweight. He could move, and some people question his power, but any man at 230, 240 sitting down on his shots will get your attention. He has power. Not a power puncher, not a knockout guy, but you know what I just said. And then Frank Sanchez is a very good boxer. He's one of the few guys like Jared who's not a stiff heavyweight. And he's in part is because he's not a huge giant heavyweight at 6'7", he's 6'4" like Jared is. They're almost the same size, and they're both outside of Tyson Fury, 2 of the most fluid heavyweights in the division in terms of they can move around the ring and be fluid like a middleweight. I think Jared punches harder than Frank Sanchez, and I think he fights with a little bit more spite and bad intentions than Frank Sanchez. He might get counterpunched by Frank Sanchez, fighting with that spite, fighting with no respect. But I think he punches harder than Jared Anderson, fights with a little bit more meanness. I think Jared Anderson punches harder than Frank Sanchez and fights with more of a mean, heavyweight swagger in that division. And he matches the hand speed of Frank Sanchez. He's very skilled like Frank Sanchez. I think the difference between those two is that Jared might have a little bit more dog in him in terms of, pushing the fight, making the big shots happen, and I think he punches harder than Frank Sanchez. I'd give the edge to Jared, but that's giving Jared a lot of praise without being tested, without really being tested yet, because Frank is very good. He's a legit heavyweight contender. And then Daniel Dubois, Jared beats him. I just think Jared beats him. I just think Jared's better. A better all-around heavyweight prospect than Dubois is and was. And I just think Jared beats Daniel Dubois. I think the much tougher fight is Frank Sanchez. So, thank you for the super chat, Jim. Appreciate it, man. I'm good, Quake. I'm chilling, enjoying my Saturday from the office. This is easy work, having fun with you guys. So, happy you're doing good, Quake, and appreciate you asking how I'm doing, too. UK Rob Boxing says, big up, Sean. Hope you're well, bro. You too. Is that Rob Tibbet? Is that Rob Tibbet with is that you, brother? I know a couple of UK Robs, but shout out UK Rob Boxing. Marshall by KO is plus 450. Is it? That's a good bet. I think Marshall wins. That's a good bet. At plus 50, Marshall by KO. Because Marshall's a big favorite straight up to win. And yet they're giving her fat odds to not get the knockout. That's a good bet. That's a good bet. I think you made a good bet, sir. Let's see here. Make sure I'm not missing anything in the other chat. Oh, Bam Rodriguez versus Sonny Edwards. I gotta favor Bam. Sonny Edwards has a date with Clarissa Shields on the line, so this man may fight the fucking fight of his life. Sonny Edwards may upset Bam Rodriguez and fight the fight of his life. Sonny Edwards is good. I do like Sonny Edwards' boxing skills. No, not a lot of punching power, and that'll be a problem against Bam. I think the problem for Sonny Edwards against Bam is Bam has great footwork like he does. Bam does a lot of flashy, nuanced things with his feet and all that, but Bam has the power, and so I think that's going to be the difference between, kind of like I was just saying with Jared Anderson and Frank Martin. You know, I think that power. Sometimes you sound like a casual when you say the power is going to be the difference, but the power can be the difference when all things being equal. And that's the logic of people picking Tank Davis to beat Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney right now, is that all things are in that logic, in that way of thinking, all things are equal. They're both fast, they're both skilled and athletic and smart, but one guy has something the other doesn't, that power. And that's where the power can show up as the difference, is when both guys are relatively in the same neighborhood and skill level and conditioning and all that. That's when that power could be the difference. So I think Bam, his power will be the difference with Sonny Edwards. Yeah, man. I see a lot of laughing faces, but I'm not kidding. Sonny Edwards is gonna. That man might go out on his shield. That man might not stop throwing punches till he's not gonna stop. The man wants a date with Clarissa Shields, and Clarissa Shields said, if she's quote, if he beats Bam Rodriguez, yeah, I'll sit across the table and eat some food with him and have it. She even smiled while he said it. Sonny Edwards has so much more to fight for than being elite or a world title belt or making the UK proud or going back to Daniel Kinahan with a big smile. He has a date with Clarissa Shields. He has. Where's that? Hold on, chat. You got to take this seriously. Road trip. Hold on. Where's that? Who's the? There it is. Sonny Edwards. He has this on the line, chat. He has even more important things than boxing on the line. It goes deeper than boxing. He has this on the line. He has this potential on the line. And those of you who saw Road Trip, you know, you've seen the memes. He has a lot more on the line. And he might, and that you give a man that much to fight for, he might pull off the upset. He might prove people like me sitting on their ass pontificating wrong. You give a man that much to fight for. We'll see. Sonny wouldn't know what to do with all that. Why would we gotta underestimate the man? Because he's 5 foot tall. We don't know that. Big things can come in small packages, you know. But Sonny Edwards might handle that for all we know. He might handle Bam Rodriguez and then handle Clarissa. And then we got to put respect on his name. I don't think any of the above is going to happen. But we keep an open mind here on Fight Hype Live. We take this serious. We take it serious. Take it serious. It's not a game. DeAndre, 23, he's going to be super focused. He's going to be the most focused he ever been in his life. Clarissa and Edwards make a good couple. Don't you agree, Sean? I think they could have a flame. I can't see them lasting in marriage, or you know. But I think they could have a little flame for, you know. We get so serious with the boxing talk. Let's digress into a little romantic. Yes, I think Sonny Edwards could sweep her off her feet for about 2 months before she gets tired of him. I think he's got the charisma to do it. We all had those homies that were magic with women for they had a window before the women kind of figured them out and started to get annoyed by them. But that initial hit of charisma got them a lot of success with the ladies for a short, limited time. My boy Tommy Ciro from Queens, New York, he was the master of the 1 week girlfriends, and then they couldn't stand him after that. This man was like Sonny Edwards. Shout out Tom Ciro if you're watching. Tom Ciro from Queens. He used to be about 5 foot nothing like Sonny Edwards, and mac on all the girls. Some of them beautiful, taller than him, and he would get them. And then a week later, they couldn't stand him. Sonny Edwards might be able to pull off something similar with Claressa Shields. This is starting to turn into like Tariq Nasheed dating hour talk. All right, I digress. All right, we got a little lost here, chat. I'm sorry. Got a little lost here, chat. How long till the fight? We're about to start in a moment here. Ben Whitaker is holding out his ears like he's Hulk Hogan for the final decision, and he got it. Man, what a likable guy, Ben Whitaker. All right, main event time finally is on its way. Marshall versus Cruz Dezern. I gotta favor Marshall, man. I give a lot of credit to Franchon Cruz Dezern. Nothing's been handed to her in this sport. She's had to earn everything along the way. Even after becoming undisputed champion, literally achieving the highest regard she could achieve in her sport, she got dropped by her promoter. 37 years old. And some of these girls, they're young and like Sky Nicholson, for example. They're able to market off their sexuality and all that. And Franchon Cruz Dezern, it's not ugly, but she's not one of these young heartthrob girls. Nothing's getting handed to her because she looks good or because she was in the Olympics. Or she's had to earn everything she's got. And that's why, despite being the undisputed champion, she's on the road as the underdog. So if Franchon Cruz Dezern can pull this off tonight, just massive respect to her as a human being, not just as a fighter, for being able to beat the odds over and over and over again. But I do favor Savannah Marshall tonight. I like Marshall. I knew Shields would beat her, but there's only one Claressa Shields. Savannah Marshall is one of the best punchers in women's boxing, heavy-handed. Not an explosive puncher, not fast, but that heavy-handed, kind of country strong out there in England. And I expect her to win this fight, but we'll see. If Franchon can beat the odds again, tremendous credit to that woman. So we'll see what goes down. We're just waiting for main event time to start. Yeah, getting restless. Me too, man. We getting restless. Oh, damn. Do I got some super chats to get to? My fault. Let's see. Hold on. Make sure I didn't miss it. Sonny Edwards is going to look like a flea on Claressa Shields' buns. Yeah. I guess, I do guess proportions come into play at some point, right? I guess science, human proportion. Claressa is like 5'8" and strong. And yeah, maybe she might need someone at least 6'2", something like that. But Sonny Edwards, it's about the size. It ain't about the size of the dog or the fight. It's about the size of the fight and the dog. And that's what Sonny Edwards going to show everybody, man. If we'll see. I don't think he's beating Bam Rodriguez, but God bless him if he can. And God bless him if he gets a date with Claressa Shields. And he might, just like he would, if he could get past Bam Rodriguez, he'll surprise us all with Claressa too. I'm not hating on him. All right, enough of the Sonny Edwards, Claressa. I don't want Claressa Shields tuning in and then whooping my ass next time I see her. So enough. But I do think Claressa. There's only one Claressa Shields, man, and so, I think Franchon's gonna have a much tougher fight on her hands than Claressa did. Claressa has that hand speed cheat code, her hand speed combination punching cheat code. In emergency, press the red button that makes her throw 10 punches in 2 seconds, And that's what she did to get out of trouble sometimes with Marshall. Marshall would get her on the ropes and begin to get close to touching her with heavy power shots, overhand rights, come underneath with the uppercut. But Shields would fight her way off the ropes beautifully, throw 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 punch combinations, and would light Marshall up. And her offense would be her defense sometimes, throwing those combinations. Kind of throwing them like get off me punches, they call them, but throwing get off me punches with bad intentions, not throwing them, getting backed up, being weary, but throwing them like get the fuck off of me, wah, 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 wah. And that's what Claressa Shields did beautifully. Claressa Shields is one of the best combination punchers, male or female, in boxing, and she's very athletic, she's strong, she has super fast hands, and Franchon Cruz Dezern doesn't bring those dimensions like she does. I favor Marshall, man. I'm looking forward to calling this main event. Let's get it going already. Clarissa Shields, spectacular KO artist, 2 knockouts. Michael Hernandez, she's not a knockout artist, but she does. I think she punches harder than the 2 knockouts because all these girls respect her and get hurt early and then kind of fight to survive, and then she starts loading up and reaching and overcommitting to her right hand, getting a little sloppy, but she hurts all of them early on with the right hand, and then they kind of give up on trying to win. And she, regardless of being a knockout artist or not, she's easily the greatest female boxer of all time because 2 gold medals and 3 undisputed titles. I mean, no one's done that in men or women's boxing. I know women's boxing doesn't have a whole lot of fighters compared to men's boxing, but she's the GOAT. That's just facts. She just is. Layla Ali doesn't have 1/10 of her accomplishments, Ann Wolfe was ducked and wasn't allowed to be able to build up to her level of accomplishments. The Olympics weren't even around back then for women in boxing. Her only competition was really Katie Taylor, and Katie Taylor, when she tried to move up and become undisputed in more than just one division, she lost. Clarissa was able to do it 3 times over, so she's the best. That's not simping. That's not virtue signaling. She just is the best. This is calling a spade a spade. Heron said Franchon Cruz will be too much for Savannah. We'll see. I don't think so, man. I think Savannah's got this, but we'll see. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll be happy for Franchon. Fire in My Bones says, I gotta go. Ice Cube and Boys in the Hood. Is that you, Fire in My Bones? You out of here, or are you just quoting the movie? And he was amazing. I'll be back for Big Baby. All right, brother. I'll see you later, man. Thank you, Fire in My Bones, for hopping in. I'll see you for the Big Baby round by round. See you later, Fire in My Bones. Better Biev versus Bevols, the fight to make? Absolutely. Not a huge money fight, but it's the fight to make. Michael Hernandez said, what time is Anderson Baby set to fight from Baja California, Cabo San Lucas? Oh, shout out, brother. I heard it's beautiful down there. I'm sure you're enjoying it. Jared will probably be on around 8 o'clock, and I'll probably go live around 6:30 West Coast time. Better Biev beats Bivol? I don't think so. I think Bivol beats Better Biev. Better jab, younger, and then has the physical strength to withstand the power when he needs to. That's just me. Yeah, I would love Better Biev and Bivol. They got to make that fight, man. They got to make that fight. Top Rank and Matchroom, PBC gets the criticism when they felt like they're holding up Crawford and Spence. They don't want to do business with Top Rank, even though it's the fight everybody wants to see. And they waited out until Crawford comes their side. Now the fight's going on. But you got to keep that same energy for Matchroom and Top Rank. They don't want to make Better Biev Bivol. They're standing in the way of it when the fighters want it. So there you go. Molly Mall. Boxing analyst, what do you think about Chris Algieri? I think he's a brilliant analyst, very smart man, and then having been a former world champion, has all the credibility and experience to speak his mind and give his insight to us. So I've been playing phone tag with Chris Algieri. I was supposed to interview him this week, and we just can't get on the same page for scheduling. So be on the lookout for Chris here on FightHype soon. Molly Mall says, yo, Sean, how do you feel about the AB situation? What's up, Molly Mall? Great to have you in the chat, man, and thank you for the super chat. How do I feel about Broner? I got a lot of love for Adrian Broner. He's been very good to me and to a lot of people. When he was undefeated, he still would give interviews and still would be cool, but he wasn't as approachable, wouldn't give you as much of a back and forth dialogue, was really feeling himself, but wasn't an asshole. Was still cool. And then once he began to take some L's, became, even more down to earth, even more cool, funny, joke around with you, give you the time of day. I got love for Adrian Broner. He's a very funny man. He's funny. And was blessed with a lot of talent from God from a young age. And he's been a cautionary tale. He's been a little bit of a tragedy in his life. The product of kind of the product of our media and what hip-hop became, what the lifestyle was thought to emulate in hip-hop as it kind of deteriorated into the late 2000s, into the 2010s and now, and he kind of followed that suit, and it got him off course along with a lot of young people, a lot of people I know, myself included. I was off course 10 years, 12 years ago too. And so despite the empathy I have for Broner, and despite realizing he's a talented, funny man who's been generous with his time to a lot of people, we don't want to enable him at the same time. I see a lot of people upset at, what was it, the Danza Project, for exploiting him, right? But they didn't put a gun to his head and make him show up in that intoxicated state. He's an adult, and he did that on his, that's his fault. That's not their fault. They spent $10,000 on the interview, right? So no one's talking about how they kind of got fucked. Everyone just, because everyone's in such a rush to paint media members as two-dimensional evil characters. No one, you know, the media. Everyone that's in the media is addressed as a two-dimensional kind of evil, opportunistic scumbag. And, but no one's thinking, well, dude, didn't they pay this man $10,000 to show up for an interview, and he shows up unable to deliver it? That's not very good of that's not cool of Adrian. That sucks for them. It sucks to be them in that scenario. So they're trying to salvage what they can out of it. You want to have empathy and give love to AB, but you don't want to enable him. You don't want to absolve him of all accountability, or else he may never pull himself out of this. I liked how he looked again. One thing I liked about how he looked against Bill Hutchinson a couple weeks ago is it was the first time he looked like he wanted to be there. Like he wasn't just in the boxing ring because he needed to be for his livelihood. He looked like he fought with some purpose against Bill Hutchinson, and I was happy to kind of see him happy doing what he's best at again. But then it turns out that drinking problem's a demon. My dad was alcoholic. You know, I've been an addict in the past. I got over it, thank the Lord, you know, but it's tough. It's a very tough fight, and I wish Adrian the best in this fight, but we don't want to bend over backwards and be enablers either. That's how I look at it. So, thank you for the super chat, Molly Mall. Mr. Quake said, but some people in the media are biased, Sean. I'm saying, of course they are. I mean, there's going to be biased, bad people in the media, in Walgreens, in Walmart, at school, at work, and, you know, good and bad people run everywhere. The issue I have with how the public, from athletes to basic virtually everybody, is they look at the media as it's always negative. It's just they look at us like we're two-dimensional scumbag, like we didn't go to college, like we didn't dedicate ourselves to our goals, and we don't have adversities and things that we go through as well. We don't have our side of our perspective. It's the Ari Gold effect. When you watch Entourage, you never feel bad for the motherfucker that Ari's chewing out. You identify with Ari, but in real life, Ari would be a dick to you too, and you'd be forced to identify more with the person getting yelled at who's not a multimillionaire. Same thing with professional athletes. The people watching at home, they always identify with the professional athlete talking down on the reporter, calling the reporter out, telling the reporter, you never dribbled a ball, you never threw a football, you never boxed before, you know, and they never stop to think to themselves, I actually have so much more in common socioeconomically with the reporter who's making $50,000 sitting in the front row getting chewed out than I do with the multi-million-dollar athlete. People don't think it's the Ari Gold effect. You think you're Ari Gold. You think you're Jeremy Piven. No, you're not. You're that motherfucker getting chewed out by Jeremy Piven in all likelihood. So yeah, but let's move on to main event time. Let's move on to main event time. It is time now for both fighters to make their way to the ring. Savannah Marshall has made her way to the ring, and now, or she's about to now. Yep, here comes Savannah Marshall, the favorite, the hometown fighter, who gave Clarissa Shields a good fight. Lost probably about 8 out of 10 rounds, but it was fun throughout, and she never stopped coming. And she walked through bomb after bomb from Clarissa Shields and gave her a good fight. Savannah Marshall, to me, is one of the best punchers in females boxing. And Big, tall girl, comes underneath with that uppercut, comes over the top with that right hand well, got a left hook too. Kind of slow, but strong. Very good puncher is Savannah Marshall. The heavy favorite tonight, despite being the challenger, and she's making her way to the ring. What's up, Danny? 12460 says, what's up, Sean? How you doing, brother? Shout out to you. Does Broner beat Tiafimo? No. No. So let's see. Here comes Savannah Marshall, looking confident, coming to the ring, little smirk on her face. This girl has one of the thickest accents you'll ever see. Almost tough, almost needs subtitles with that thick Scouser accent. In America, we got a country saying, a cliche called country strong. And whatever the equivalent saying is in England, that's what Savannah Marshall strikes me as, country strong. Different country, not the United States, it's England, but she just looks like a countryside girl who's not built with a lot of lean cut muscle, but built with a lot of natural physical strength. And she's wiry. She's got that tall, long arms, got real power on the end of her punches. Mean girl in that ring. Trained by the uncle of Tyson Fury, Peter Fury. She's got some of that fury in her with the loosey-goose, hands down, punching loose with her style. So she shows some of that Fury influences. She's in the ring now. No robe for Savannah Marshall. Came in with no robe, inner fight gear, ready to go. And now it's time for the champion from America, the undisputed super middleweight champion, Franchon Cruz-Dezurn, whose only loss was that pro debut loss. Both of their debuts on the undercard of Ward and Kovalev's first fight back in 2016. Her only loss to Clarissa Shields. Other than that, she's won every fight as a pro, and she's the undisputed champion. Beaten fighters like Marciela Cornejo twice. And, designs her own clothes. Has a song out, I believe, right now on iTunes. And nothing's been handed to this woman. So respect to Franchon Cruz-Dezurn. Underdog tonight. Bringing the belts overseas. If she could pull it off, God bless her, and it would be a real testament to the fighter and woman that she is. So, set to make her walk to the ring now. She's not a Scouser. She Geordie. What's the difference there? My bad, Chad. I'm thinking everybody tough from England that doesn't talk like a Londoner, I just wind up calling them a Scouser. So ignorant. Forgive me. Break it down to me, Chad. She's not like that. So she's a Geordie. I thought Geordie was that dude with the podcast. I didn't know that was a whole subgenre of Brits. Here comes Franchon Cruz-Dezurn. Almost got like the Kanye West red glasses on. Got her own uniquely designed robe that she makes herself. And again, nothing's been given to this woman. And that was a point she made in Fight Week, that I'm a hustler. I had to fight Clarissa Shields for my pro fucking debut on 2 weeks' notice. You got a 10-year build-up to her, and the media kissing your ass, bringing up an amateur win, and she got to come to your back. You got to fight her at home, and you still lost. Her point being that there's been no breaks in this life over here. And she's correct. I wouldn't always go for that narrative, trying to take something away from Savannah and the trial she's been through, but she spoke facts, so it is what it is. Here comes Cruz-Dezurn. Now she's got a smile on her face, looking confident. Doesn't have the kind of, neither woman has that cut like an Alicia Baumgardner, but Cruz-Dezurn's softer looking at her body than Savannah Marshall. Does look softer around the body than Savannah Marshall. Looks a little bit more solid, and is also the taller woman. Cruz-Dezurn strutting her way with her hand raised to the crowd like the champion, walks past Savannah Marshall in her corner as well. And now the referee is taking a look at the super middleweight champion's gloves, and we're set to have some fun here and call this fight live once the round starts. Sleepy said, let's get this knockout. Metal Box J says she's not a Scouser, she's from Hartpool, for fuck's sake. I'm sorry, it is ignorant, Metal Box. You could be irritated with me. Forgive me. You don't even have to forgive me. You could just be irritated. You're fine. Scousers are from Liverpool. That I knew. I thought Scousers were also from Manchester. I thought it was Manchester and Liverpool. And Geordies are Newcastle and surrounding area. Well, thank you guys for educating me. I don't want to stay stuck on stupid, so I appreciate it. Let me even look up. I thought Jordy was literally just the one guy with the podcast that Tyson Fury didn't like. Dialects, and also known as the lingua. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you guys. Forgive me. Jordy's. Forgive me. Patty Pimblett is a Scouser, right. Tony Bellew. Oh, we got a super chat from Heron saying, Franchon Cruz ends still with the American flag. Of course. Gotta love supporting the American. But I do think the American loses tonight, but we'll see. Make sure I didn't miss a super chat. Let's see. All right. Oh, what's she saying? What's Franchon saying here? Hold on. Let me hear this. What is she saying? This woman. Oh, she's singing. Oh, she's singing the anthem her damn self. This woman has to make her own trunks, has to promote her own fights, manage herself, probably had to buy her own fucking flight to get out there. Now she has to sing her own anthem too? When will enough be enough for Franchon Cruz DAZN? Jesus. Can we get this woman some help? It's alright. It's alright, Franchon. The true American way. Singing that anthem. Streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through that night, yeah, that flag was still there. Oh, say. Clarissa Shields singing it now with her ringside. How will this singing affect her stamina for the fight? That's a good question. Free for the land of the free up until COVID, when they all told us we were forced to wear a mask and couldn't leave our house. It was a good run up until 2020, if you're not including slavery as well. And the home of the brave. Alright, let's go. It's fight time now. Let's go. Shout out to Franchon Cruz DAZN for singing the anthem, though. And I'm sorry I made you guys sit through my anthem. But I thought, I was trying to be a little funny with it. I was trying. Hartlepool massive. Liam, come on, say... Come on, bruv. Hartlepool massive, yeah. Savannah Marshall. So. Oh, one Kiachi Jennifer said, and forgive me for the pronunciation, said, enjoying your breakdown from Nigeria. Shout out to Nigeria, man. Awesome people. Love all the African fans from Nigeria, Namibia, Ghana, and more. Amazing people from Africa. Super brilliant, humble, been through so much. So, yeah, shout out to Nigeria, baby. And a lot of our best American fighters, African-American fighter, like Floyd did his 23andMe and found out he was mostly Nigerian. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of our African-American fighters are of Nigerian descent. So shout out to Nigeria. Mink Schultz says Cruz gets off balance a lot, could get caught during that. We'll see. Time to spank the yank, says Metalbox J. Here we go. Let's see. Came for the boxing, staying for the singing. Thank you so much. Can't sing at all, but that didn't stop me from doing it. It made me laugh inside, but I'm biased. All right, Marshall. Anthems are done. Marshall getting her ring introduction now. Can't wait to start this fight already. Appreciate you live as always from Puerto Rico. Shout out Sleepy. Shout out to my Boricuas. Big pun forever. Yes, sir. Let's see. Brent Boyer says, what the fuck did I just tune into? I imagine some people were feeling that during that time. We're back to just regular boxing now. We're just waiting for round 1 to start. I got you, Brent Boyer. I'm going to get flagged for that rendition, Lewis Carr. Maybe I should be. It was pretty awful. It was pretty awful. But I thought it was amusing. Here we go. Now, Franchon Cruz looking confident, man. Looks like she's ready to dog it out and win this fight. Getting her name introduced now. She's got the great Sugar Hill Stewart. Definitely one of the best trainers in boxing. 10 wins, 2 knockouts, 1 loss. The undisputed champ. 1 no contest as well. 10 fights, 8 wins, 1 loss, 1 no contest. 2 knockouts for the champion, Franchon Cruz DeZern. Looking mean and ready. Clarissa Shields supporting her at ringside. Clarissa really having her back all the way. Clarissa all of a sudden looking a little concerned too, though. But shout out to Clarissa Shields, because fighters, they tend to want to glorify the fighters they beat. They want to build them up, makes them look better. And if Clarissa was being a pure narcissist, she'd actually be rooting for Savannah Marshall, because she never would want anyone else to beat Savannah Marshall but her. But because Franchon has a sisterhood with her, they both made their pro debut against each other. They're both, black American fighters, black female American fighters. She's supporting her friend, and good on Clarissa for that. Because again, if she was a true narcissist and it was just all about her, she'd actually want Marshall to win, because it makes her look better. So, but here we go. All right, round 1 about to start. Here we go. Here we go. All right, round 1, and we begin. Franchon Cruz DeZern starts with a jab to the body, lands the jab up top, taking the fight to Savannah Marshall. Leans down on her head as Marshall tries to clinch there in the center of the ring. Marshall eating that jab up top, little double jab, and flailing to the body there by Franchon Cruz DeZern. But Cruz DeZern starting well with the jab. Ooh, right, 1-2 down the pipe by Marshall, off the mark with lots of power, but DeZern getting her chin off the line. DeZern popping her jab in, out jabbing Marshall here in the first 30 seconds. Let's go of a combination up top, but Marshall slick dips underneath that combination to the head. They trade jabs. Cruz DeZern landing that jab again up top after they trade jabs to the body and to the head. Cruz DeZern landing a little bit of a right hand over the top behind her jab, starting with a big pace and punching to Marshall's body, but almost a little bit too much energy out the gate from Cruz DeZern, who's definitely winning the first minute of round 1, but expending a lot of energy in round 1. Marshall's face already a little bit reddened up top from some of those jabs and that overhand right earlier in the round. Marshall stepping in, eating 2 or 3 jabs, and Cruz DeZern just firing off shots, and Marshall dipping underneath and getting into the clinches. And already Marshall, one of her braids a little loose from that jab. Jab lands for Cruz DeZern. She steps back now. Marshall coming forward with that left hand low. Finally lands her jab up from her hip. Jabs to the chest of Franchon. Now a right hand comes in over the top as Marshall begins to find the range with her up jab from her hip. Marshall getting herself into the first round now, landing some of those jabs. Cruz DeZern landing her own jab, trying to come over the top with the right hand after that jab, but Marshall dipping down away from it. They trade right hands. Marshall gets in the left hook after they both get their chin off the line to get away from the right hand. Marshall with a better close to this round than she began. That braid is already looking loose. Oh, overhand right lands from Franchon Cruz DeZern as they open up in an exchange in the center of the ring. Cruz DeZern breathing heavy. She wasted a lot of energy in round 1. She won that round, but she had to output a lot of energy to get that round. Out jabbed Savannah Marshall that round, but Marshall did begin to find her up jab. Marshall coming in with those low hands, that left hand way low. Cruz DeZern keeping her hands up better, but Marshall did land a right hand here on the slow-mo replay. They show a right hand landing off that jab. She did get in that right hand, and they both missed right hands, and then Marshall landed that left hook to close round 1. But Cruz DeZern had a strong first minute. Marshall came on strong in that last 40 seconds, but I thought Cruz DeZern did enough in that first minute to offset the work late by Marshall. Sky Sports, you know, being a little biased there for Marshall, only showing her replays. I gave that round to Cruz Dezern, 10-9. 10-9, but I didn't like how much energy she had to put out there to win that round. Here we go, round 2, and Marshall, the bigger woman, stands right in front. They fall into the clinch, and Dezern punching with her free right hand in the clinch. Marshall just holding and eating some of those right hands in close. All right, they break apart. Cruz Dezern backing away to her right, shoots a 1-2. Marshall dipping away from it. Marshall shooting her up jab. Now lands her right hand after finding the range with her up jab, and then moving her head underneath the response shots from Cruz Dezern. Marshall dipping underneath the straight right hand and then covering up for the left hook. Looking to close distance with those hands. Oh, looping overhand right. Touches Cruz Dezern from Savannah Marshall. Didn't get full oomph on that. Cruz Dezern rolled some of it, but part of that landed on Cruz Dezern, that overhand right. Now Cruz Dezern clinching Marshall in the center of the ring. Cruz Dezern keeping those hands up. Marshall with that left hand low. Cruz Dezern jabbing Marshall back into the center of the ring to create some room. They trade jabs in the center of the ring, and Cruz Dezern is just getting off. She's throwing more punches than Savannah Marshall. Not necessarily landing them, but just being busier. They trade jabs in the center of the ring. Cruz Dezern landing that jab with the hands held high, and Marshall exchanging, throwing her up jab, and they trade there. They trade in their jab. Nice up jab from Savannah Marshall in the middle of the ring. Then she jabs to the body. Cruz Dezern missing her combinations up top. Marshall dipping below those combinations decently well. Eats a jab now, and then Cruz Dezern busier in the clinch. It's not pretty work, but she's working her hands in the clinch more than Marshall is. Cruz stepping over to her left. They trade a little bit there in the center of the ring. Marshall landing her right hand in between a double jab by Cruz Dezern. Coming over the top of that double jab with her right hand. Nice left hook to the body by Cruz Dezern. Marshall trying to catch and shoot with a right hand. Oh, 1-2 lands for Marshall here in the last 10 seconds. And that's it for round 2. That 1-2 near the bell for Marshall, but to my eyes, Cruz Dezern out-hustling her early on through 2 rounds. She may pay a price for that as the fight goes on, but I've edged her out those first 2 rounds, having more desire, out-hustling Savannah Marshall. Savannah Marshall getting underneath a lot of those combinations up top, either getting underneath or catching them, but she is eating the jab of Franchon Cruz Dezern a lot, and she touched Franchon with the right hand a couple times there, but it was in between Franchon working in the clinch, Franchon touching her with the jab, Franchon just letting her hands go with combinations. So, you know, this could be a different card in the UK, but I got it 20-18 for Cruz Dezern. And on the replay, they are showing the right hands of Savannah Marshall landing. So she is getting in some of those right hands, and that's what Sky Sports is choosing to show. Here we go for round 3. Double jab lands for Franchon Cruz Dezern to start. Another jab lands for Franchon Cruz Dezern in the center of the ring. Tries to throw a straight right hand to the body. Cruz with another double jab, and that second jab landing well. Marshall trying to come over the top with a 1-2, but Cruz Dezern rolled it well, and then lets go of her hands in the clinch to continue to out-hustle Marshall to start round number 3. Nice jab to the body by Cruz Dezern, but she eats a jab up top, trying to back out of the way after landing that jab to the body. Marshall being a little wild with her looping right hands over the top, and she looks a little fatigued and a little unsure of herself in round 3, does Savannah Marshall. Cruz Dezern out landing her and out jabbing her right now, and in the clinches giving her the business. And Marshall doesn't look 100% confident. Cruz Dezern just off with a looping right hand. Marshall slow with her counter in the center of the ring. Cruz Dezern with a jab to the body gets countered with a straight right hand up top. Good jab to the body by Savannah Marshall. Another jab lands up top for Savannah Marshall. 1-2 up top for Savannah Marshall, but she misses it, and Cruz Dezern shoves her to the canvas after making her miss that 1-2. Fell into her and threw her on the canvas. Marshall, don't love the facial expression I'm seeing from Marshall here. Cruz Dezern is showing more dog than her early in this fight. Cruz Dezern working that right hand to the body in the clinch, and Marshall doing more looking at the referee for help than Cruz Dezern is. 30 seconds left in this round. I got Dezern ahead right now. Cruz Dezern stepping off to her right, keeping her hands up better and out jabbing Marshall right now. Cruz de Zern working that free hand in the clinch again. Backing Marshall to the ropes. The ref breaks him up. Marshall not finding the mark right now. They're getting rough in the clinch. Marshall getting woman handled a little bit in the clinch. Oh, looping overhand right lands for Franchon Cruz de Zern, and then she cleans up with the left hook and partially gets it in. I have Cruz de Zern ahead right now, 30 to 27. 30 to 27. Let's hear what Claressa Shields has to say. Hold on, they're interviewing her right now. So Claressa has Cruz winning right now. Can't really quite hear what Claressa's saying. I gotta turn my shit up. Hold on. But I have Cruz de Zern up 30 to 27 right now. You know how your boy does. I may pick one fighter to win beforehand, but once that bell rings, if something different than I thought was gonna play out, we call it like it is. And right now, the American Franchon Cruz de Zern is up on my card, 30 to 27. Here we are in round 4. I don't love the body language and expression from Savannah Marshall. They both begin with their jab, and Cruz de Zern is backing Marshall up. She eats a jab, eats that up jab, good up jab. Oh, Marshall just off with a sneaky right uppercut and then lands a hard jab. Marshall beginning to throw her shots with more conviction now. That's the first time I saw that right uppercut. Maybe Marshall is woken up. Cruz de Zern getting her in the clinch. After that jab she lands, Marshall holding her own, getting a little rougher in the clinch, but Cruz de Zern hits her on the break a little bit, gets away with it. Marshall with a straight right hand through the center. Cruz de Zern rolling some of it off, and then Cruz de Zern wild comes back with her own wild right hand, and they do a little twist and turn, and Marshall goes to the canvas in the roughhousing in the clinch. Now they're both back up. Center of the ring. Cruz letting go of her little right hands to the body in the clinch as Marshall doesn't punch in the clinch as often. Minute left in this 4th round. Better round for Savannah Marshall right now. Marshall coming in with those low hands, getting out-jabbed by the higher guard of Cruz de Zern, whose jab has to travel less of a distance, not having to pull it up from her hip. Marshall with that up jab, setting up a little bit of a combination up top. Cruz de Zern holding on, smothering some of those shots. Cruz de Zern off the mark with a looping overhand right, tries to clean up with the left hook behind it in the clinch. They exchange in the close. Marshall getting in her left hook in between Cruz de Zern's punches twice there, but Cruz de Zern taking that punch good. Cruz de Zern, good 2 right hands to the body by Cruz de Zern. Marshall comes back with a straight right hand out of that clinch. 10 seconds left, and this looks like it'll be Marshall's first round on my card. She needed it. Marshall, don't love her body language, man. Cruz de Zern is fighting with more passion, more dog in her. That's it for round 4. 39-37. Franchon Cruz de Zern. I give Savannah Marshall her first round in the 4th, but it wasn't a dominant round by any means. She did let go of that uppercut with bad intentions for the first time all night. Didn't quite land it, but it looked good. And then landed her jab hard a couple times early in that round. Both fighters not really landing cleanly in the exchanges. I give the edge that time to Marshall. 3 rounds to 1 for Cruz de Zern. Here we go. I'm with her, man. I had a 3-zip for de Zern too. So Haran saying, I told everybody, hey, long way to go, man. Long way to go. Long way to go. We ain't even halfway through this thing yet. So we got a long fight to go still. But right now I got a 39-37 Cruz de Zern. I wouldn't be mad at 38-38. Wouldn't be mad at 38-38. All right, Cruz de Zern start with her jab, and Marshall clinches her right away in the center of the ring and then turns her. Marshall with 2 or 3 jabs, not quite getting it in there, but trying to establish it. Cruz on the front foot, catching it. Nice left hook to the body by Franchon Cruz de Zern. Then she smothers Marshall so she can't work after that. Marshall getting backed up at various points in this fight. Now she's trying to back Cruz de Zern up, but Cruz de Zern holds her ground, eats that jab to the body, and lands a little short left hook in close, but then that jab knocks her head up. Good jab by Savannah Marshall. Marshall not finding the right hand, though. Cruz de Zern coming back with her own 1-2 down the pipe, and then digs in a little left hook to the body, and they fall, and then clinches Savannah Marshall. Cruz de Zern just giving her the business in these clinches more. Marshall not looking comfortable. Marshall looked more comfortable walking through bombs against Clarissa Shields. Marshall coming in with her jab, but getting her work smothered. Cruz de Zern letting her hands go in close in between the clinch. Marshall landing a little bit to the top of the head with her free right hand, but can't get the extension on her power shots like she wants to. Short with her jab. Cruz de Zern smothering her jab a little bit, and Marshall, frustrated, throws Cruz de Zern to the ground. Referee wipes Cruz de Zern's gloves and warns Savannah for turning and throwing her to the canvas. Oh, right hand lands over the top for Savannah Marshall and finishes that right hand with a jab as well. Nice jab lands for Savannah Marshall. Nice right hand in close lands for Savannah Marshall. She gets the better of that exchange as Cruz de Zern opened up in close. Cruz de Zern misses her right hand. Nice defense by Savannah Marshall. Landing 2 jabs. Cruz de Zern tried to time that double jab with a looping right hand, and Marshall moved her head out of the way and kept distance control with her jab. Good close to the 5th round. Nice jab lands at the bell for Savannah Marshall. Good round for Savannah Marshall. 3 rounds to 2. 48-47. Franchon Cruz de Zern gave Marshall that 5th round. Agent Zero said play some Undisputed after. We will definitely play some Undisputed today. No doubt about that. So, yeah, I got it 48-47. Let's take a look at the replays. Yep, that right hand and that jab landing in the center of the ring for Savannah Marshall. Measuring with the jab. Measure. Comes over the top with the straight right hand. And then another jab to finish off. Nice 2-1 as opposed to the 1-2 there by Savannah Marshall on the slow-mo. 48-47, Cruz de Zern. Like I said, we had a long fight to go. Sleepy said Cruz is about to gas out after 5. Maybe that happens. We are officially in the second half of this fight now. Here we go. Round 6, and let's go. Marshall starting with her up jab. Back comes Cruz de Zern with her jab out of her higher guard. Cruz de Zern trying to launch an overhand right, but Marshall taking all the steam off the shot, dipping away from it. And Sky Sports has this fight 50-46 for Savannah Marshall. Fuck them. They're fucking crazy. No, it's 3-2 either way. Fuck what they're talking about. All right, but Marshall is beginning to build the momentum here. Cruz de Zern eats a left hook to the body, trying to close the distance. She tries to let go of her hands in combination, but Marshall is smothering her work now. Landed 2 hard body shots as Cruz de Zern tried to close the gap there. She had to eat 2 body shots in doing so. Another body shot lands for Savannah Marshall. Cruz de Zern trying to throw that straight right hand, and Marshall made her pay with a right hand underneath to the body. Oh, big left hook for Cruz de Zern, but Marshall takes it no problem. But Cruz de Zern throwing a little throwaway straight right hand, and then knocked Marshall's head up with a left hook. But now Marshall coming back inside with a clubbing right hand and getting into the body. That left hook did not stop Marshall, who looks like she's catching momentum now. Now Marshall letting her hands go more in the exchanges in the center of the ring as Cruz de Zern takes a deep breath and ties up. Good jab to the body by Savannah Marshall. Leaning her weight now on Cruz de Zern, who's looking fatigued. 30 seconds left in this round. Savannah Marshall with a nice right hand to the body sets up a left hook up top out of the clinch in close. Savannah Marshall, straight right hand lands as Cruz de Zern was waiting for the jab to set it up, and instead Marshall threw the lead right hand. Nice jab lands for Savannah Marshall, misses the right hand, but then comes back with a chopping right hand to finish up that combination and lands hard with it. Franchon Cruz de Zern bleeding from the nose now. And that does it for round 6. The momentum is now in Savannah Marshall's corner. I have this fight 3 rounds to 3. I gave Cruz de Zern the first 3 rounds, but I gave Savannah Marshall the last 3 rounds. And she's got the momentum now. And some of that body language and expression I didn't like from Marshall has left her face, and she's looking more confident, like she's coming on strong. Let's see what's going on here. Waiting for round 7 now. Yeah, Sky Sports, that's a terrible scorecard. First of all, 50-46 is retarded because no one scores even rounds anymore. And there's no way that Franchon didn't win one of those rounds. That's just ridiculous. on the replay by Sky. That left hook that knocked Savannah Marshall's head clean up. They show that on the replay. But then Savannah landing a hard, thudding jab, missing with the straight right hand after landing the jab, but then cleaning up with the left hook in that slow-mo. Here we go in round 7. And Marshall with the momentum. Jabs to Cruz de Zern's chest twice. Cruz de Zern a little tired, backs out of range. Marshall trying to plant that left hook to the body. And the referee warning her for banging into Cruz de Zern. Oh, straight right hand lands for Savannah Marshall. Some good speed on that one. Nice touch jab, set up a straight right hand. Almost threw it simultaneously. Cruz de Zern beginning to lose the battle of the jab now after winning it early on in the fight. Marshall beginning to punctuate exchanges too, where before it was Cruz de Zern getting off first and punctuating exchange. Now an overhand right lands for Cruz de Zern as she backs Marshall off with a jab, made Marshall back off in a straight line, and she ate a right hand backing in a straight line. But now Marshall lands her jab on that bloody nose of Cruz de Zern. Cruz de Zern, a lot of heart, responding with combinations, but can't get it anything clean. They exchange in close, and Marshall winning the exchanges, getting in her left hook and her right hand, and Cruz de Zern missing off the mark with her left hook and her right hand in the exchange. Cruz de Zern with a looping right hand, not a lot of steam on the end of it. Marshall taking a lot of the steam off of it, and then coming back with her own combination. She's the more accurate puncher right now when they open up. Jab to the body by Marshall and a left hook to the body. That tall frame getting underneath pretty well. Some of the combinations up top for Savannah Marshall. Straight right hand over the top, lands a little bit from Marshall. Cruz de Zern rolling some of the steam off of it, but this is another Marshall round. Cruz de Zern tired in the clinch now, and Marshall beginning to hit her with her free right hand to the body. Tables have turned a little bit there. About 10 seconds left in this round. Cruz de Zern, ooh, nice left hook to the body by Savannah Marshall, setting it up with a 1-2 up top and then bringing that left hook to the body. Cruz de Zern landed some of her own shots in these exchanges, but Marshall landing the cleaner, harder shots and is the more active fighter now. She's the one punctuating these exchanges with the last shot and not Cruz de Zern. 4 rounds to 3 for Savannah Marshall. She's taking the lead on my card. She's won 4 in a row. I got a 67-66 Marshall. Cruz getting outboxed and looks fatigued, but still having her moments, says Castor Shell. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Johnny Nelson has it 3-3. I had it 3-3, but now I have it 4-3 for Marshall. So there you go. Yeah, she got off to a good start, did Franchon Cruz de Zern, but you could tell it was probably not going to be sustainable. Clarissa Shields really cheering Franchon on ringside. Cheering her on big time, but it's Marshall with the momentum right now. Here we go, round 8. 3 rounds left in this undisputed title fight. Marshall pawing with her jab, sets up a straight right hand. Nice left hook to the body, backed by Franchon Cruz de Zern though, as she kept her feet planted and had to eat that straight right hand off those jabs that were set up by the jab of Marshall. But she came back with a nice left hook to the body. Marshall opening up with a 1-2. Another little sweeping, sneaky right hand to the body lands for Cruz de Zern. 30 seconds into the 8th. Jab to the body for Savannah Marshall. Back comes to the body with clubbing shots as Cruz de Zern, but she eats a right uppercut twice on the inside while just trying to dig to Marshall's body. Cruz de Zern still in this fight. Cruz de Zern, little short, reaching with a straight right hand to the body. Gets leaned on in the clinch some more by Marshall. Marshall looks tired, breathing heavy herself. Minute left in the 8th. Straight right hand touch lands for Cruz de Zern. Marshall letting go of her hands in the clinch after Cruz de Zern lands that little touch straight right hand. Closer round here. Marshall getting rough with Cruz de Zern in the clinch. Roughhousing her, landing some shots a little bit without full extension. Referee is warning both ladies for fighting rough now. Marshall missing a sweeping right hand, trying to throw it like a right hook off her jab, that up jab, but Cruz de Zern, good defense, gets her hand up to block it. Cruz eating the jab, eating a little bit of a straight right hand as she tries to close distance. Marshall with a nice left hook to the body. Good punch placement after throwing a 1-2 up top. Left hook to the body in the center of the ring. Cruz Azern not able to come back with anything that time in the clinch. Marshall missing a sweeping right hook up top. Cruz Azern dipping her head down low, getting leaned on in the clinch. 10 seconds left. Good up jab lands in the center of the ring for Savannah Marshall. Another up jab lands for Savannah Marshall. Cruz Azern trying to sit down on power shots, but inaccurate. Jab to the body for Savannah Marshall, and Savannah Marshall outboxed her that round. Cruz Azern trying to sit down on overhand rights, trying to come with power shots, but now, letting that jab, that up jab land to Savannah Marshall. Some shots in between her wide looping shots. Marshall placing a couple shots in between. 77-75, Savannah Marshall. I've given her 5 rounds in a row. 5 rounds to 3. 2 rounds left in this fight. Yeah, round 8 was a little closer. I still gave it to Marshall. So 5 rounds to 3. Here on the replay, it's the jab and the straight right hand landing in close for Savannah Marshall, and a little bit of a left hook to the body too. Especially fighting at home, you've got to think that Marshall is probably ahead at this point, and Cruz Azern's going to badly need these last 2 rounds to remain champion. Here we are in the 9th. Cruz Azern with a tired overhand right. Falls into the clinch, digging little right uppercuts to the body on Marshall, but not a lot of extension on those punches. Marshall lands her little up jab, but Cruz Azern letting go of her hands, eating that jab and trying to get to the body of Marshall, who holds on. Marshall with the up jab. Cruz Azern trying to come over the top of it. Misses that over top counter. 2 nice left hooks to the body for Cruz Azern in the middle of these exchanges. Marshall trying to dig with uppercuts, but Cruz Azern doing a good job of getting her chin off the line, and she actually landed 2 left hooks to the body in that sequence. Marshall missing her right hand over the top. Cruz Azern with a wild, hard, straight right hand in the middle of the ring, trying to take Marshall's head off, but missed it. Marshall with a double left hook after getting her head off the line in the right hand, and Cruz Azern falling into the clinch. Marshall, left hook to the body, left hook to the head. Good double left hook by Marshall. Cruz able to catch. 45 seconds left in this round. Competitive round. Marshall probably ahead, though. Cruz Azern not letting that right hand come all the way over the top with that jab. Nice jab to the body by Marshall. Marshall sitting down hard on a right hand that split the guard a little bit of Cruz Azern. Marshall winning this round. 30 seconds left. Another jab lands for Savannah Marshall. Cruz Azern getting her chin off the line to not get hit by the right hand after the jab, but 2 jabs hit her. Both of the right hands missing after the jab. Cruz Azern bleeding from the nose. Another jab lands for Savannah Marshall. Heavy, stiff jabs thrown from the hip by Savannah Marshall. Cruz Azern able to get her head off the line to not eat the 2 after the 1, but that 1 busting her nose up. Cruz Azern trying to work in the clinch, but nothing successful. Blood from the nose and mouth of the champion. Going back to the corner for the final round. I have this 87-84, 6 rounds to 3 for Savannah Marshall. I gave Cruz Azern the first 3, and I've given Marshall the last 6. So, yep. Savannah is winning, says Black Spade. Danny 12460 says Sean, I have it 5-3 for Marshall as well. Weedy Gonzalez, what's up, Weedy? Much love to Weedy Gonzalez, says Savannah landing the more effective punches. Absolutely. Singing that national anthem may have been costly for that stamina. Indeed. Well, that's why I felt bad for the woman. She had to sew her own outfit. Probably had to fly herself out. She walked herself out. She didn't even have the entourage. She had to sing her own anthem. Even the great Clarissa Shields cheering her on ringside may not have been enough. Both fighters touched gloves to start round 10. Undisputed super middleweight title hanging in the balance on my card. Marshall just needs to stand up to take home the belt. Got her up 6-3. Marshall beginning with that up jab, those 1-2s. Sky Sports has Marshall winning every round. I think that's a terrible scorecard. I gave Cruz Azern the first 3. They let go of exchanges, both giving as good as they get, but Marshall with the heavier hands is going to have the advantage whenever both fighters land. 30 seconds into the 10th. Cruz Azern, very tired, so is Marshall. Both ladies fighting through fatigue. Cruz Dezern. Oh, nice right hand in close by Cruz Dezern. Throwing little clubbing shots to the body. Gets a little distance as Marshall tries to back off and eats a right hand from Cruz Dezern. Now Cruz Dezern trying to open up to the body. Eats a sweeping right hand in between her punches by Savannah Marshall that knocked her head up briefly. Cruz Dezern taking the fight to Marshall. Cruz Dezern trying to get off, but getting hit with punches in between her aggression, in between her trying to smother Marshall and get to her body and club her with clubbing shots. She's eating shots in between those moments. Oh, right hand lands for Cruz Dezern as Marshall trying to dig to the body. Cruz Dezern landing that straight right hand in the middle of the punches in the center of the ring. Nice left hook to the body for Cruz Dezern, punching in between Marshall's punches. Marshall throwing big clubbing haymakers a little bit there. 30 seconds left. Close round. Slight edge to Marshall, but Cruz Dezern has thrown more punches this round and has backed Marshall up. 15 seconds left. Close 10th round. Close 10th round. Very close 10th round. Franchon had actually landed some right hands this round and took the fight to Savannah Marshall. Savannah Marshall backing her off with a right hand. Misses it. Grazes her with the sweeping left hook for Savannah Marshall. Both fighters tired, and that will do it for this fight. I think Cruz Dezern might have actually done enough to pound that 10th out. It was close. Marshall touched her up in between her trying to close the gap, but Cruz Dezern wanted it more in that 10th round. I could see it either way, whether it's 96-94 or 97-93, Marshall won this fight. I was actually expecting more from Marshall. She got bullied in the clinches at times. She looked fatigued. Early in the fight, she didn't look confident in herself. Didn't fight, to my eyes, she fought with more dog in her against Clarissa Shields than she did tonight. But I thought she won the fight, and it looks like Savannah Marshall will be the new undisputed super middleweight champion after all, like many of us predicted. Cruz Dezern with blood on her tank top, blood from her nose and her mouth, but she actually showed more dog than Savannah Marshall, but Savannah Marshall won the fight. So, yeah, 7-3 or 6-4 Marshall. Everybody in the chat seems to have it for Savannah Marshall as well. What's up, Emilio Beltran? Good to see you, brother. Let's go ahead and wait this final verdict. See what we got. It should be Savannah Marshall, but not like Sky Sports had it. Golly. I'm going to get something to eat once this wraps up and recharge the batteries for Big Baby Anderson tonight. My brother's keeper says best commentator. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. On the slow-mo replay, they're showing those little sneaky right hands that were landing for Cruz Dezern in round 10. Marshall clubbing her a little bit in between punches, but that might have been a round you could edge to Cruz Dezern. But either way, it's mathematic. I do think that Marshall won this fight. So here we go. We're awaiting the final call. Just waiting for it. Clarissa Shields seems to know. No, she's not leading on too much. Cruz Dezern raising her hand, trying to persuade the judges. And it's almost time to give us this verdict. Let's see. $95-95, a draw on one card. 99-92, that's going to be Marshall. And 97-93, and the winner, and the new Savannah Marshall wins the fight. The new undisputed super middleweight champion. Obviously, Franchon Cruz Dezern doesn't agree with the decision. I think 99-92 was really bad. 97-93 is fair. 95-95. I think it was It was closer to 95-95 than it was 99-92. I think 96-94 was maybe the right card for this fight. I had it 96-94. Could have seen 97-93. I think 95-95 is too generous to Cruz Dezern, but it's more accurate than 99-92 is. So, the new champion is Savannah Marshall. She was the favorite, and she won. But I think Cruz Dezern gave a very good account of herself, and I actually thought Cruz Dezern was going to take more punishment down the stretch of this fight than she did. She held her own very good in this fight. Has nothing to be ashamed of. Fought as hard as she could have. But Savannah Marshall is a strong girl. She could punch. And outside of Clarissa Shields, you know, I don't know who's beating her. So, yeah, Savannah Marshall won, chat. Shout out to the Geordies, not the Scousers. Shout out to the Geordies. She still can't beat Clarissa Shields, but nobody can. So, you know, she has that in common with every other female walking planet Earth that would try to put boxing gloves on. She can't beat Clarissa Shields. Her and every other woman on planet Earth. But other than Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall is the queen at 68. Wouldn't be surprised if these two rematch. Shields beats her again. The only person that could beat Clarissa Shields is pregnancy or Clarissa Shields. That's it. Ooh, Shadeja Green. Yeah. Shadeja Green's the best fight out there for Clarissa. Shadeja Green might beat this girl Savannah. For sure. I gotta do a little tape study. I'd have to really break my fighters down and study things, but Franchon Cruz Dezern, all class, smiling, being funny in the ring with Marshall after the ring. But she deserves a tremendous amount of respect for the career and road traveled and how she fought tonight. And my utmost respect to Franchon Cruz Dezern in the losing effort. Yeah, man, but Shadeja Green, she's a problem. She deserves to fight the winner, to fight Marshall. She might beat Savannah Marshall, man. I remember watching Shadeja Green spar Sean Porter. So, I know what she's all about. That's a tough fight for Clarissa, too, because I say this as a compliment. Like, Shadeja brings... She brings a little bit of an element, like a masculine element to fighting her, like Ann Wolfe did. Like, you almost feel like you're fighting a man. So, she's not feminine, like, physique-wise and whatnot, you know? She's kind of like Ann Wolfe was in that regard. She brings a certain level of masculinity to the ring that 99.9% of female fighters won't. And that in and of itself would be interesting to see Clarissa go up against. Because Clarissa's very fast, and people think because she doesn't get knockouts, Clarissa's strong. She's a strong 5'8", 5'9", walks around 165, muscle, strong. And Shadeja Green might be the only girl out there stronger than her. So I would love to see that fight. Hey, Tufan Anons. Shout out to Tufan Anons. Shout out Weedy Gonzalez. Shout out Sleepy. Sleepy, you called it. Marshall got that dub. What's up, Red? So yeah, chat. Chat. I'm gonna get up out of here, man. I'll be back for the Big Baby Anderson card in about 3 hours. But last second, anybody want to shoot anything my way before I get out of here, and I'll answer. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in a couple hours. So I'll give it a 2-minute grace period. What should I get, chat? So I get some barbecue pork fried rice. Is that what I should eat in between? I don't feel like cooking. I don't feel like asking my wife to cook. It's her Saturday too. I don't want to ask her to do that. Savannah Marciela. I think Cornejo's going to 54. Ben Shalom. I don't know about Ben Shalom, chat. His lisp annoys me. See you later, Sleepy. Don Carlos, who do you think will win? I'll close on this. Who do you think will win? Ortiz, Stanionis, or Enes Villa? Enes over Villa. His talent is just too much. He can do too much. He's too fast. Punches too hard. Villa may test him. Villa may hurt him. Because Boots sometimes has a leaky defense despite all the great athleticism and different moves and coordination he could do. Sometimes that chin's exposed, but he'll beat Villa. And then Ortiz will beat Stanionis because he's got a better jab, punches harder, and he's a little bigger. But all right, chat, check back in about 3 hours, 6:30 West Coast time. I'll be going live once Delonte Tiger Johnson starts fighting. I'll do Delonte Johnson's fight, the Russian heavyweight Makhmudov, and then the main event Jared Anderson. Everyone, keep it locked in on Fight Hype, and I'll catch up with you guys.